his debut, Uppbeat wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR Championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a two-time WOR champion.
Stop it! Around the outside of the line, Shadow is contact again. Ronhard is around.
Bethany, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does!
16 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to some more WOR action here on the PC with Tier 1. I'm Ginger Andy. Joining me tonight, we've got Dan Field as we head to round 12 of this exciting season. It's the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit, one of the most challenging circuits on the Formula 1 calendar, one of the newest additions to the calendar here at WOR. And Dan, it should be a cracker. It's a real challenging circuit, and yeah, I'm looking really a lot forward to it.
Yeah, this circuit is very, very tricky, and these drivers are certainly going to meet some barriers. Of course, 27 corners, the most out of any Formula 1 circuit. It's one of the longest on the calendar as well. I believe the second longest just behind Spa-Francorchamps. So, Andy, it's going to bring us a fantastic race today. Yeah,
really demanding, very difficult to get the perfect lap in, as you say, the most corners. So that means more chances for mistakes, and the longest lap, or one of the longest laps, making it such a challenge for the drivers to get the perfect lap in. Not only that, Dan, make a mistake and the barriers are never far away, are they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this being a street circuit, it is going to be very tight, and you've got to be careful around this circuit. I was playing it earlier on today, and I hit the walls a few times, and I imagine that the WOR grid Tier 1 is going to be a lot better than what you and I could do, Andy, but this is certainly a tricky circuit.
No doubt about it, and the championship standings are beginning to heat up now. Nicholas Longay losing ground last week after contact between him and Brendan Lee in Portugal. He went spinning like a top down the order. Tomek Paradz's roared to victory, and in the end closed the gap right in now to just 7 World Championship points. Incredibly close between those two. Alvaro Caraton, despite missing out last week, staying in the hunt as well. 42 points between the top 7 in the standings. Things really beginning to heat up in this title battle as we get ever closer to the climax, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicholas Longay did not have a good race last week. Came into contact with Brendan Lee, and that unfortunately sent him into a spin. It was all damage limitation from there. We should, by the way, have Alvaro Caraton back on the grid with us tonight, so hopefully he can reclaim what he's lost in the last 2 races. But it is going to be a brilliant fight between all of these guys in the championship hunt, and I can't wait to get going.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Should be very, very exciting. So cars are out on track. We will go to them in a moment. But before we do, let's have a quick word with one of our sponsors, GridRival. Racing has never been this fun. Join the link shown on screen. Join World Online Racing League today to get yourself involved. Search for World Online Racing on the GridRival app and compete against the community with a £25 prize pot. For every 50 members that join, we will add another £25 into the prize pool. It's a fantasy league. You pick your drivers and you fight out to see who'll come out on top. And it's basically like, you know, the Formula 1 fantasy, that kind of thing. Pick your drivers and then climb up the leader board and see how you get on. So be sure to check that one out, folks. But for now, it's time for us to jump into this qualifying session, and I believe we've got some cars heading out on track, and one of them is Alvaro Caraton. He's making his way down the pit lane right this minute, and here he is now, making his way out onto the track here for qualifying here tonight in WR. One of the men in the fight for the championship, and having not turned up last week, he'll be looking to put things right and close that gap down.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how he gets on around this tricky circuit. He's just coming through the first sector now, which is very difficult to follow through. A lot of high-speed corners, and then you have to apply the brakes at some point to actually make the next one. I'd imagine if we're going to see invalidations around the circuit, it is going to be in the first sector.
Yeah, very high chance of that. And as he makes his way on an outlap, a few cars out there on the intermediate tyres. And of course, folks, the reason for that, not because it's raining in Jeddah, although it did in PSGL earlier in the season. It's because they want to try and save a set of dry compound tyres and do that first run on the intermediate compound. But some big news tonight here in WOR. For the first time ever, we have got two F1 Esports two-time world champions with us in WOR. What a big feat that is for the league. It's great to see how far it's come along. We've got Jarno Uppbeat with us tonight, and not only that, Brendan Lee is here as well tonight, and he's in the garage at the minute, and he's fresh and in fine form. If you watched PSGL on Wednesday night, took a dominant victory in Singapore. It was like we went back 3 or 4 years, Dan, wasn't it? Superb performance, took the win, and is Brendan Lee beginning to build up a head of steam going into this season's F1 Esports?
We'll have to wait and see. It would be a tremendous story for Brendan Lee. Of course, winning the first 2 seasons of F1 Esports, hasn't quite had the same run of form since then, but he has been able to come back into league racing, which he had sort of took a little break from, and now he's really hitting his stride. But we do have some runners out on circuit and completing their flying laps. Tomek Parajic has just gone to the top of the order with a 1 minute 27.3 last season. When we came here, it was the pole that actually took pole position. He said a 1 minute 26.358. So, Andy, I'd imagine these times, once they get onto the set, the soft compound tyre are going to come clattering down.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we'll see the times tumble, but Tomek Parajic getting in nice and early on the medium tyre. Here's Sam Corby out there on the inters, which of course, as I mentioned already, is because they're trying to just save a set of tyres. No other reason other than that, as he makes his way out there on track at the minute. We've got one of the McLarens, I think, about to start a flying lap, Jake Benham, but he's also out there on the intermediate compound at the minute. So early days here in qualifying. If you're new to Formula 1 or new to league racing in the top tier in WR, just like in PSGL, we do have 3 parts of qualifying. Standard in league racing is just 1 qualifying session, and they all set 1 lap, and we'll set laps over the 15 minutes or 18, however long it is, and then that's the grid. But nope, not the case here in the top tier. It's just like normal Formula 1 qualifying. Q1, we knock the bottom 5 out. Q2, we knock 11th to 15th out, and then in Q3, the top 10 shoot out for pole position, and that's part of the reason why we're seeing some of the tyre saving that's going on early on in this session. But Jake Benham out there in the McLaren, he'll be looking for a strong showing this weekend to get himself back in the title hunt as well.
Absolutely. Jake Benham at the moment is currently, I'm just trying to find his name on my standing sheet, he's 7th in the order at the moment. He's not too far off the battle for some of the top spots, and he's within touching distance of Shanaka Clay and Luke Smith. If he can have a good performance today, well, he could insert himself into the title hunt for the last 5 races. But on his intermediate lap, obviously not going to be competitive whatsoever. We do have some runners on the slick tyres as well, as Louis Welch goes to the top of the order with his first lap. It's on the set, the soft compound tyre, and it's a 27.0.
And here is Patrick Saipos in the Alpine car at the minute, racing down towards the infamous high-speed turn 22-23, really pushing hard through there in that Alpine. And let's see how he gets on as he makes his way through the middle sector now and into the final part of the lap. How will he stack up? Louis Welch has done a 27 flat on the soft tyres, and at the minute is on top, the king on the pad, who was of course second last time out in Portugal with a super strategy. Really pleased for him. He picked up driver of the day. Here comes Saipos to the line. He goes 8th quickest on a 1:27.8, the slowest of the cars to do a representative time so far on a set of dry compound tyres. So Saipos up into 8th place. But let's have a quick chat about this man then. Louis Welch, superb last week, P2, 18 points, and driver of the day as well. It was epic, wasn't it?
Of Of course, the early safety car really did help out Louis Welch, and he opted to go for the risky strategy by fitting the hards to go right to the end of the race, and no one else was able to make up the gap. Of course, he was overtaken by Thomas Ronhaar, who did have a penalty, so we all thought it was P2 at the time, but it turns out it was a double warning for the Dutchman, so that got removed. Louis Welch still ended up on the podium, so that was something really to be pleased about, and a little bit of hope for those who drive on the pad. And Andy, I know you love to mention this every week, so you know what, let's go for it.
Yeah, I love mentioning it. I love it. I just love the pad man. I love it. He's a top driver. And again, I say it every week. I'll say it again. If you're new at the game, pick up a pad. This guy can do it against the very best. They spend thousands of pounds. This guy does it with a pad. It's magnificent. So he should be, you know, your influence, the person you want to follow. And you know, take some confidence from and realise that you can rise up through the grid and become one of the top drivers on a pad. So he is a top driver, as always, Louis Welch, and he always flies the flag, and I really appreciate the pad man for that. But who else we got out there at the minute? Shinaka Clay's on a slow lap back to the pits. Simon Shooter's in the pits. We've got Jeffrey Ritchie out on track, as we mentioned before we went live. Likes to change his name every week and keep us guessing. It's ART Ritchie, but we know him best as Jeffrey Ritchie, and we'll keep calling him that for the duration of this session. And currently P7 at the minute. We've got a few drivers on outlaps now. Thomas Ronhaar, one of them, and he had a good race a couple of outings ago, was the winner, and didn't quite manage to follow it up last time out, but we'll be looking to get back in the hunt for the championship, because there's so many in that group, isn't there, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely, of course. Thomas Ronhaar was one of the quickest men in qualifying, started at the sharp end of the grid, and the unlucky safety car helped out those behind. He did have the option, by the way, to come into the pit lane and set the hards, but he decided to stick to his guts, go with the same strategy. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for him, and it did work out for Tomek Paradzic, but certainly Thomas Ronhaar is always a figure you've got to be careful of. And he's just coming through the final sector now, so we'll see what he does as he comes in towards turn number 27, a really long and slow sort of hairpin-like corner where it does close in on you on the exit. It's very easy to run into the wall if you get understeer. He's managed to avoid it this time by, and he's coming up towards the line. Thomas Ronhaar is going to insert himself into P2, and if I believe, if I'm correct, Andy, that is the quickest of the medium tyres.
Yeah, good effort there from Thomas Ronhaar. 27.2 on the medium. Great effort from him. Gets himself right in behind Louis Welch as Andre Tarabukin heads round the racetrack at the minute, and into turn 13 he goes and runs the car right out towards the barrier on the exit. And let's see what kind of lap time he can set for his opening effort. He's really pushing hard and threading the eye of the needle around this magnificent street circuit here in Jeddah, the fastest street circuit in the world. And Andre Tarabukin now making his way towards turns 22 and 23, the real challenge on this racetrack. And look at that, pushing hard through there, taking a lot of curb and a little bit more, not invalidating, and now opening up the DRS in that Alpine and taking the shortest route to try and shave off a few metres around the lap, and then swinging out to the outside to open up the final corner. Turn number 27 as Jack West now goes quickest of all with a 1:26.4, some 6/10 clear of anyone else. Here comes Tarabukin over the line. He does a 26.7 to go second, and now I think it's time to pick up Jarno Opmeer, who's just started a flying lap, Dan.
Yeah, we'll see what the Dutchman can do as he's in the first sector here. Of course, we saw the Dutchman fight it out with Tomek Paradzic last season, and it was the Dutchman that came out on top. So he's already won in WOR around this circuit, and he's looking to make it 2 for 2 as he comes into the first sector split, and it's going to be a 29.8 for him, understandably 4.8 seconds up, as there goes Nicolas Longuet to the top of the order, and that is, by the way, just 1,000th quicker than what we saw last season's pole set by Tomek Paradzic, and you consider this to be Q1. It just shows how the level of play has gotten so much better. And there's Alvaro Caraton with a 1:26.2. We'll see how the Dutchman can stack up as he's just coming through the second sector split. And Andy, he is trying everything he can here.
Yeah, he's pushing very hard as Opmeer. The bar is being lowered moment by moment. Here is Luke Smith now goes into third place with a 26.3. Simon Shooter now goes fourth with a 26.3 as well. Where does the reigning F1 Esports World Champion stack up against this group of drivers here in Jeddah tonight. Round the final corner he goes, up to the line. What is going to be his opening effort in Q1? Otmir up to the line, and it is P1 by 1,000th of a second ahead of Alvaro Caraton. Does not get any closer than that, Dan.
Yeah, oh my word. 1,000th of a second. That is I think it's quicker than a blink of an eye. I mean, that is incredible how close this grid can actually get, and I'm all for it. I mean, I don't know about the viewers here, but I really do love this grid and how close they all are, and I'm so excited for this race, as I think we've got Brendan Lee on a run at the moment, Andy.
Shaka Clay just goes into P6. Now, how is Brendan Lee doing? He's at the back of the pack at the minute because he's one of the two drivers. He and Liam Parnell, that has not set a time yet, but in that Scarlet Ferrari, Brendan Lee is making his way around this Jeddah circuit tonight, and it's pushing very hard. There's 1,000th between Otmir and Caraton. Will he be ahead, behind, or in between? It would be quite some feat if he manages to get in between those two, and he might even get a little slipstream off the car in front as he makes his way to the line. Brendan Lee's opening effort is enough to go P9, 126.474. I actually think he'll be slightly disappointed with that opening effort, Dan.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure if he'll be 100% safe. Of course, a lot of these drivers who were towards the back of the order, one of them being Tomek Paradzic and Thomas Ronhar as well, they haven't set their lap times on a set of the soft compound of tyres. So Brendan Lee might have to go again if he decides he wants to go into the next session of qualifying, and who wouldn't? Want to go even quicker in the session. I'm trying to see. We've got Tomek Paradzic in the final sector now. He's just coming through turns 22 and 23. The Polish driver without a soft run to his name, as through now this DRS straight, where of course Max Verstappen was able to overtake Charles Leclerc, and these two were fighting it out in the real life Jeddah Grand Prix. We'll see how they cope in WOR tonight, as out the final corner here comes Tomek Paradzic and his Mercedes tonight. We'll see where he can stack up against his teammate. He goes just about under a 10th off of Jarno Otmir. It's P3 for Tomek Paradzic.
P3 for Paradzic. Is Brendan Lee going again? No, he's not. He's on a much slower lap. He's invalidated. He's 2 seconds down as well. Wasn't sure if he was maybe going for a second run, but it doesn't appear like he is. So, out laps at the minute for Ronhar, Ritchie, Terabukin, Hofland. Matthias Van Erven is also on our lap. I've not picked him up yet, and look at this. Very, very close between a number of cars then, as they try to sort themselves out on their outlaps. I believe just behind that is Tomek Paradzic, who we've just seen complete a lap. I thought it might have been Otmir, it's not. But we'll keep an eye on Matthias Van Erven and see what kind of lap time he can do. We've not picked up much of him, if anything at all, from him so far in this session. So let's see what the Dutchman can do, but at the minute it's looking very, very tight at the top. There it is then, nothing between Otmir and Caraton really. Tomek Paradzic within a 10th of a second. The top 8 all within 2/10 of a second of the pole time. The top 14 within half a second. It's going to be a very exciting end to this part of qualifying. So then, everyone in the chat, let's hear from you. What is going to be the cut-off time to get into the next part of qualifying? At the minute, Louis Welsh on a 1:27.0 is the cut-off time. Dan, what do you think the cut-off time is going to be? Luke Smith doesn't think it's going to be a 26.3 because he's retired and he's happy with that time. What do we think? I'm going to go with a 26.6.
I'm going to say it's a little bit lower than that. I'm going to say if you're roundabout where Brendan Lee, Duncan Hofland is, okay, I don't think you're going to be too safe. And that is taken into account that I believe that the bottom 5 at the moment haven't actually set laps on a set of the soft compound of tyre. As Matthias Van Erven begins his lap, he's also got Thomas Ronhar in behind. So the two Dutch drivers looking to improve. Oh dear, that is bad for Matthias Van Erven. He's got to push here. He can't afford a cooldown lap. He's got to go as quick as he can here. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, he's on a 26.6, and in the chat, Godified Rat believes that could be the cutoff. Kiki Man thinks it's a 26.7. Ben Price 26.6. So he's in around that region where the chat and ourselves think might not be enough. So he's under a little bit of pressure here. I tell you who's out there on the lap and needs to improve because he's in the bottom 5. It's this man, Jeffrey Ritchie. Needs the lap. Let's see what he can do. And he's finding 0.8 of a second. So he should, at the minute, be able to climb himself out of the bottom 5 here in qualifying.
desperately needing a strong time here is Jeffrey Ritchie in this McLaren as he makes his way now down towards the final turn of T27. Round that final corner he goes now and makes his way towards the line. He might even get a little bit of a slipstream from the Alpha Tauri in front. Ritchie for the line, currently 17th. He's now up to 9th, and that is a big improvement from him. And boy, he needed it.
And here comes Thomas Ronhart up towards the line, currently in the bottom 5 to the top of the order.
Wow.
Smashing Uppbeat's time out of the water. That is a very impressive lap from the Dutchman, putting Andrei Tarabukin into the bottom 5, who has invalidated on his run. We've also got Jake Benham coming up towards the line in the McLaren. Currently, he goes to second position. He jumps ahead of Jarno Opmeer and into the top 2, and that puts Matthijs van Erven at danger.
Patrick Saipos now also into the bottom 5, and he's only 1.5 tenths up on his previous best, so Saipos could be one of the heavyweights getting knocked out here in qualifying. He's only finding a 10.5. Tarabukin is out, so 17th at best for him. Saipos needs a lap and needs it now, but at the minute he ain't finding much time. How much further up the order can Patrick Saipos go as he makes his way around the final turn now? Needs a big improvement. At the minute he's not on for a big improvement. Crosses the line, does go up to 7th. Found time in the final sector, and Van Erven has invalidated the lap again and therefore is out of qualifying. 17th and out for him. Hoffland is in the bottom 5. Brendan Lee is on the bubble at the minute, and he's on one, but only a tenth and a bit quicker than his previous best. So Brendan Lee in a big bit of trouble here. We'll watch him to the end of his lap. P15 for the man that won in PSGL in midweek, was in the best form since his championship winning days, it has to be said. Now up against it in Q1. Ferrari driver into the final corner then. We saw a big improvement from Saipos in the final sector. Can Brendan Lee find that big improvement as well? He can, and goes P6 and should now make himself safe. Duncan Hoffland has invalidated the lap, and therefore he is out, and the bottom 5 is secure at that. Hoffland out, Van Erven out, Tarabukin is out, and as are both Alpha Tauris of Sam Corby and Louis Welsh, who fill the back Rodan, but Brendan Lee leaving it late to make it through.
And congratulations to anyone in the chat that said the cutoff time was going to be around a 0.4 or 0.5. Duncan Hoffland eliminated with a 1 minute 26.574. He's being joined in the bottom 5 by Van Erven, Tarabukin, Corby, and Louis Welch. And I've got to say, Andy, that Haas driver in 17th position, that is not where he belongs. He really should be in the next session of qualifying.
Yeah, that's the big shock. Matthijs van Erven, too many corner cuts, too many invalidated laps, and the Haas driver is the big surprise to bow out in the first part of qualifying here in Jeddah tonight. But I've got to say, Dan, I've got to tip my hat to you. You were on the money. 26.4, you said it, and that is the exact amount, the exact time that you needed, and in the end, it wasn't enough for that man, Matthijs van Erven. It was plenty though for Thomas Ronhart. He goes through with Jake Benham in second and Jarno Opmeer in third. Alvaro Caraton just a thousandth of a second slower than the Dutchman Jarno Opmeer. Nicholas Longe through in fifth, and Brendan Lee leaving it late to book his spot through in P6. Tomek Parantzis was 7th with Diamond Shooter in P8. Shanaka Clay was 9th, and Patrick Saipos rounded out the top 10. Luke Smith got through in 11th, Jack West through in 12th with Ruben Pedreño, Liam Parnell and Jeffrey Ritchie squeezing through. Bowing out in this first part of qualifying, Duncan Hoffland, Matthijs van Erven, Andrei Tarabukin, Sam Corby and Louis Welsh completing the grid here in Jeddah tonight. Well then, Dan, a very interesting qualifying session, no doubt about it though. The big talking point, Matthijs van Erven not getting himself through. What do you put it down to?
I think he just wasn't careful enough, really. I'd imagine he was just trying to push too hard, and unfortunately went off the circuit and invalidated his laps, because every run that he took, I saw it was red, and he was able to only get 1 lap time in. That wasn't good enough to get him into the next session of qualifying. He certainly has got the pace as well. So I'd say he just wasn't careful enough, and that's what undid it there.
Oh well, going into Q2 now. Anyone catching your eye early on in qualifying? Who's looking strong and who's not?
Well, you got to say the drivers right at the top of the order, Jake Benham, Thomas Ronhart, you know, those guys were very impressive. But I've also got to say Jack West caught me by surprise early on. He set a 26.4, which was pretty quick on in the session. And I've got to say, that is an impressive time from the young Welsh driver. So if he's able to improve on that a little bit more, I think he ended qualifying Q1 with a 26.391. If he can improve on that, he certainly could be in a great position in this race.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on Jack West. Could he be a dark horse going into the second part of qualifying? No doubt about it, he'll be aiming to get himself into Q3 as well. All 15 of the drivers, only 10 can make it through. Let's jump into the next part of qualifying here in Jeddah tonight. And we've got a few drivers out on track, and here is that man, Jack West, in the Ferrari, who looked very, very strong, it has to be said, in Q1, as Dan mentioned. And that is always a good indicator for us, isn't it? If a driver can come straight out the blocks onto the track and appear to be confident and set a really good lap, then you really do believe he's going to have a good night. And Jack West certainly has done that so far, no doubt about it. He'll be trying to get himself into Q3.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. We've got 13 minutes in this session. It's a 15-minute session, but of course everyone's got to go around for their outlaps, I believe. It's going to be Ruben Pedreño, the first driver to put us on a run. And, well, Pedreño, a part of the Race Clutch team, the Alpine Academy, of course. They see a lot of potential in the young Spanish driver. And I've got to say, I agree, as he begins on his run, running up towards the first corner.
Yeah, Ruben Pedreño then. We've not seen much of him at all tonight either. So good to get a little right on board with the Spaniard. His teammate Van Erven out in Q1. So Pedreño, who's been a mainstay in the final part of qualifying on many occasions. Let's see what he can do tonight in Jeddah. Can he make his way into that final part of qualifying once again? Well, he won't be doing it with invalidations like that, as he runs just a fraction wide and ruins that lap. So that gives us the opportunity to go to the man right behind him on the road, and that is Alvaro Carreton, who's doing a 29.8 through the first sector. His fellow Spaniard in this part of qualifying. And look at that, Carreton running it right up towards the edge of the racetrack, pushing hard as Jake Benham moves aside, as Carreton flings it into this middle part of the lap, again getting right up towards the barrier. And Alvaro Carreton really leaving absolutely nothing on the table as he now comes down to that exciting turn 22 and 23. How's he going to get on through there? He throws the car into the corner and it responds as the Williams driver is knitting together a pretty tidy opening lap here in qualifying 2. Let's see how it's going to stack up. We saw low 26s, 26 zeros at the end of qualifying 1. What are we going to see at the start of qualifying 2 as Carreton winds it up round the final corner, picks up a lovely little toe from the Haas in front, runs to the line. Is it the quickest so far? Not quite, but it's a very good start to qualifying 2 for him with a 1 minute 26.2. Luke Smith can't get near it. He's 3/10 down, as is Shinaka Clay in P4. How is Jarno Ottmeer stacking up? He's on a lap at the minute. He's in the final corner, but he has invalidated that lap. Perrin just went second, but at the minute, no one getting anywhere near the time we've seen so far from that man Carreton. Here comes Schutter, cross the line, only a 26.7. Not a strong lap from him either. At the minute, Carreton streaking clear.
Carreton with a really impressive run in the first part of Q2. We'll see what other drivers can do as they try to beat his attempt. That could be safe enough to see him into the next session of qualifying. We do have the young Englishman Jake Benham in his McLaren. We'll see what he can do. Of course, a young Englishman in a McLaren today had a pretty good race in Formula 1. Lando Norris getting on the podium. Can Jake Benham follow in his footsteps and take a podium here in WOR for the Jeddah Grand Prix? We'll see what he can do as he comes up to the second sector split. It's going to be a 56.943 through the first and second sector, carrying all the commitment through turns number 22 and 23. Overcommitted there, unfortunately, for Jake Benham. He's run too deep. Tried to take too much speed into the corner, and he has invalidated that lap, unfortunately.
Yeah, not good for him. How is Jack West getting on? Is he on a quick lap at the minute? I don't think it's particularly quick. No, he's bailed out of that one. So Jack West, who was quick to knit one together in the previous session, not at the minute. So only 5 times on the board so far. So it's not been ideal for several of these drivers. Here is Jarno Ottmeer, and he's also on a slow lap. So everyone, I think, making their way back to the pits. They've not been able to get the lap together. Only 5 cars, and that shows you how difficult it can be to get a lap in here in Jeddah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of these guys might be trying to go for 11th position, of course, starting on on an alternate strategy and being right at the top of the order. It worked last week in Portimao for Tomek Paradzic. And we'll see how it works out for some drivers today. But we do have outlaps now beginning to start. One of them being Patrick Saipos in his Alpine, the Hungarian driver with a lot of potential in this series. And currently in the standings, I'm just trying to find his name. I actually can't locate where Patrick Saipos is currently in this series, but certainly for the future.
Yeah, he's looking pretty good out there, Patrick Saipos, as he tries to make his way into the final part of qualifying for Alpine. He's on an outlap at the minute, and he will be the first of the latest runners to set a time. And of course, advantage for the top 5, as they've all got a time on the board, they've all got a reference, and not everyone else out there does. But you've got to say, that was a very impressive opening effort from Alvaro Carton, and to be clear by such a margin over the likes of Paradis, Smith and Clay just shows you how strong he is around here, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You know, I really do love how close this grid can be. I believe in Q1 the entire field spread was about 1 second in total, but beginning his flying lap on a set of the soft compound of tyre, we'll see what Patrick Saipos can do as he comes into the first corner. Slight lock up on the inside front left, now running it in towards the first sector. We've got to carry all the commitment, the short straight up towards the next part of the lap. This is turn number 4, 5 and up towards 6, where you've got to be right on the limit, but you can't overextend it here as he comes in towards the end of the first sector. Slight lift and a little touch of the brakes, and that's undone it for Patrick Saipos. He's just run slightly wide in towards turn number 10, and that's invalidated it.
Yeah, so maybe quite a few drivers here, given the invalidations, might be going for P11 on the grid. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe just don't want to set a strong time. Here is Nicholas Longue now, out there on the medium tyre, and he's going for a lap and sliding the rear. Sliding the car an awful lot there was Longue, but he's still going. And is he now backing out? Yes, he is now backing out. It looked a bit ropey, a little bit messy, and in the end he did back out of that lap. How's Brendan Lee getting on? He's starting a flying lap in the opening couple of corners, again on the medium tyre. So it does look like, Dan, a lot of these drivers fancy a set of the mediums, no doubt about it. Alvaro Carton doesn't, as Brendan Lee invalidates another lap on the medium compound tyre. So a bit of chess going on here. A lot of the drivers, I think, fancy the medium tyre.
Yeah, I mean, they intend to start on the medium tyre no matter what, even if that sees them out of qualifying. Of course, it is best if you can get a medium time into the top 10, and then you can freely qualify on a set of the softs for pole position in Q3. But regardless of the strategy call, they are going to try, or where they end up placing in this session, they are going to be starting on a set of the medium compound tyre. We'll see how the Dutchman can get along. As I guess not. Oh dear! It's a brilliant time from Rimpedreño to go ahead of Alvaro Carton, and currently at the moment, Andy, it's a 1-2 for Spain. Yeah,
it's a Spanish 1-2 at the top of the timing order, and they both feel that it's best to be on the soft tyre. Another man going for the soft is Thomas Ronhar, but he won't be going into the top 10 if he invalidates at turn number 2, which is exactly what he's done. How's Jarno Opmeer getting on out there? He's just started a lap, and he's half a second down in what we've seen from Caraton through that first sector, but he is on the medium tyre, which is to be expected, as we can see him making his way through the middle part of the lap. So a lot of these drivers are reluctant to start on the softs, and Jarno Opmeer is one of them, as is Nicholas Longue, as is Brendan Lee as well. Even Jack West opting for the medium compound of tyre as well. Let's see how he's getting on out there. He's a little bit further round the lap than, well, not as far round the lap as Opmeer, sorry, as Paradis now has also opted for the soft tyre and gone quickest of all with a 1:26.1. How is Opmeer stacking up then, as Caraton now beats him with another 26.0, the second 26.0 we've seen here tonight. So no doubt about it, some of these drivers going for softs. How is Opmeer stacking up as he comes round the final corner, as he bids to get into the top 10 with a set of the medium tyre? Round the final corner he goes, as Jeffrey Ritchie now goes up into 5th place with a 26.3. Opmeer over the line, it's going to be a 26.9, and it's enough for P8 at the minute.
Yeah, and we'll see what some of the other runners in behind him can do, as I believe Liam Parnell's next across the line on his set of the mediums, and it's 4/10 off of Jarno Opmeer here. Not a good time for the German driver. He might have to go again if he wants to see Q3 and the fight for pole position. I believe Jack West at the moment is also, he's invalidated, has Jack West, and I think he's going to keep on going for another run here. So at the moment, Andy, with 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes left to go in this session, still we haven't seen lap time from 6 drivers.
Yeah, a lot of the drivers, I think they're just waiting to see what some of the other drivers go for. Some of them just want to invalidate because they don't want to be in that top 10. They don't want to be in the soft tyre. So sometimes it's a bit of a toss-up between tyre compounds, but at the minute, we've got so many invalidations out there. We're not getting anybody on a particularly quick lap at the minute. Let's see who else might be on a quick lap. I don't think there's anyone out there on the racetrack at the minute that is. Is Thomas Ronhard on one? Yes, he is. Second run on this set of soft compound tyres. Under a bit of pressure to get himself into the next part of qualifying. And at the minute, with Uppbeat in 8th on the mediums and Parnell in 9th on the medium tyres, they'll be smiling if some of these drivers don't do laps, but I'm sure they will. Longay's now on an outlap, but Thomas Ronhard, the Dutchman, is out there in the Aston Martin, pushing hard and going purple through the middle sector. So how's he going to go now as he throws the car at the racetrack? And it is responding. Ronhard then making his way now into the final part of the lap. Yellow flags waving, but it's only for a slow Mercedes up ahead. And he will now make his way into the final corner. Pedreño retires. He's safe with a 26-1. Anyone in the top 5 or 6 are pretty safe. He's Ronhard now rounds the final corner, heads his way to the line. What's it going to be? It's going to be up into P3, 26-1, and safely through he goes with a set of soft tyres.
Yeah, I'd imagine that he's not going to need to come out for another push lap and go again, but I do believe we have another young driver who we could see in F1 Esports in a few years' time. We got Jake Benham on a push lap, and he's just coming through the final sector now, and he has gone purple, at least on the track map, for McLaren here, so he could be contesting around about where Thomas Ronhard, maybe, if he's got the commitment, he can overtake Alvaro Carreton. Is off the exit of the final corner, slight correction for the young Englishman, but he's managed to keep his pace and coming up towards the line, keeping it tight to the left, and there it is, by 0.02 of a second. Jake Benham goes to the top of the order, and I imagine that is going to see him into the final parts of qualifying, and that finally knocks someone into the bottom 5, because Liam Parnell is at danger here, and he is responding. He's fitted on a set of the soft compound tyre, and he's going to come out on circuit.
Yeah, at the minute, Jarno Opmeer still in the top 10 with that medium tyre, but Nicholas Longay is out there and going quicker than what Opmeer did through the first sector by 0.2 of a second. So at the minute, Longay on course to knock Opmeer out of the top 10. Will Opmeer come back out onto the track, or is he going to be content with a spot in the bottom 5? That's the big question. But the problem for Opmeer is Nicholas Longay might get through on the medium tyre, and that could be a serious threat for him if he gets through on the preferred strategy. So Opmeer under some pressure here. What will he do? Will he stay in the pits or will he go out? I mean, it's all well and good qualifying P11 and getting fresh tyres, but not if someone else gets into the top 10 on the mediums. And at the minute, Longay might be that is, on course to do so. Unfortunately for Longay though, Brendan Lee is also on an outlap and on soft tyres, so that might knock him out as well. Longay then, round the final corner he comes. Can he try and at least for the minute book himself a spot in the next part of qualifying? For now, he will, just displacing Jarno Opmeer with P10, but surely there will be someone out there on a set of soft tyres to remove him. And Opmeer is one of them because he's gone out there on an outlap.
Yeah, I was just going to say Jarno's fitted the set of the C4 soft tyre, as has everyone else in at the bottom 5. Patrick Saipos being one of them, and he's currently on a slow lap at the moment. With yellow flags in sector 3, you can't actually see how much time we have left in this session, but I'd imagine it's going to be probably about 30 seconds, I'd say. So that means Alvaro Carreton and Ronhard, they see themselves into the next part of qualifying, at least how they feel personally, as Patrick Saipos, he's going to be pushing here.
Yep, getting towards the end then of qualifying as Patrick Saipos then gets the ball rolling as he comes up towards the line now, and he will start another flying lap. Simon Shooter, I believe, has also just started one on the soft compound tyre as well. So he's on a hot lap. They're all going to be on hot laps at the end of this session. Jake Benham's had enough. He's safe. Parazis, Pedreño, they all feel that they are safely through. Ronhard's in the pits, as is Carreton. So the top 5 at the minute all feel that they will be booking themselves a spot in the next part of qualifying, as all the games have been stopped with the medium tyres, and everyone is now out there on a set of the soft compound. Opmeer has seen the flag, and at the minute he is happy with that P11 as it stands. He's not made it to the line in time, so it looks like it will be an outside the top 10 medium tyre start for him. The question is, will Longay get through on the mediums? At the minute it does not look very likely, as Simon Shooter is weaving his way through the middle part of the lap and needs an improvement, because at the minute a 1:26.5 should not be enough to see him through. It wasn't enough to get yourself out of the first part of qualifying, so I highly doubt he'll get him into the top 10, so he needs to improve, and at the minute the Red Bull driver is doing so. He's on a pretty tidy lap it has to be said, is Simon Shooter. Let's see how he gets on as he makes his way towards the end of the lap here in that Red Bull car. Currently P9, needs an improvement. We'll be looking to do a low 1 minute 26 to book his spot in the next part of qualifying. Here comes the Red Bull round the final corner and up towards the line now. Where is Simon Shooter going to go? He shoots himself up in a P5 with a 26-1. Here comes Patrick Saipos, but he is invalidated, and for that reason, he is out of qualifying. Parnell slows down. He's happy to be outside the top 10. What about Jack West? He's on the softs, and he wants to go through. At the minute, Longay is still in here. Brendan Lee's crossing the line now. He knocks Longay out. Jack West slows down, and by slowing down, will not knock Brendan Lee out of qualifying, and Lee will go through on a set of soft tyres. Does he want that, or does he not? I'm not sure.
No, Brendan messed up there. Brendan tried to go into P11, but he's gone 2/10 quicker than Liam Parnell, who originally had P11. And I think Brendan Lee has just gifted Nicholas Longay the optimum strategy. Of course, Longay actually could have been in the top 10 on a set of the medium compounder tyre. And Brendan Lee, I don't think he wanted to do that there. And that has helped out. That's not really helped anyone, to be honest.
No. It's not helped anyone. It's actually, Brendan Lee's actually sacrificed this race to ensure that Nicholas Longay doesn't have a massive advantage over everyone. That's exactly what's happened there. I don't think he meant it, but that's what's happened. Jake Benham, quickest in what was a really, really tactical qualifying session. Caraton, Peranzas, Ronhart, Shooter, Pedreño, Clay, Ritchie, Smith and Lee. Perhaps inadvertently, that is your top 10. Longay out, Parnell, Otmere, West and Saipos. They will take no further part. But Dan, let's talk a little bit more about Brendan Lee there. No way did he mean to do that, but I suppose he almost sacrificed himself to ensure that Longay never had a massive advantage, because he would have.
Yeah, I mean, Longay could have been contesting for pole and still be starting on a set of the medium compounder tyres. So Brendan Lee has essentially saved the likes of Jake Benham, Luke Smith, Alvaro Caraton, all of those guys who are at the top of the order in Q2. He's essentially saved their races.
He saved everybody, because I don't think Jarno Otmere and the like would have wanted to have Longay in the final part of the qualifying session with a set of medium tyres either. So I think he has literally saved everyone in chat, everyone watching, like absolutely everyone. So thank you, Brendan, because I was a bit worried that Longay on that preferred strategy was going to run away with it. But there you go. Thanks very much, Brendan. We don't need to worry about that now. But yeah, quite an interesting section, Dan. So many tactics going on there about what tyre to be on and validating laps deliberately. And in the end, I think everyone except Brendan Lee's happy with what they did.
Yeah, I think what I was most impressed about was Liam Parnell in that session. He would have been starting P11 if it weren't for Brendan Lee going into the top 10. But he managed to fit through, I think, just about a 10th gap between Nicholas Longay and Jarno Otmere. He was able to slow down on the line to get that P11. But ended up being for nothing. He was able to still jump the Dutchman, so he's going to be starting ahead of Jarno Otmere. But Brendan Lee has really, I think, screwed over Longay and Parnell here.
And himself. And himself.
Absolutely.
Well, what a crazy end to that session. But it's now time for Q3. And we've got cars making their way down the pit lane. And Jake Benham is one of them. His teammate Jeffrey Ritchie is already out there. Dan, it's at this stage of qualifying. I ask you who you think's going to get pole. It's when I ask everyone in the chat who they think's going to get pole. We've got a very healthy crowd in here tonight, which is good to see. Go on, folks, tell us who's going to get this pole position with 12 minutes here of action in qualifying 3. Dan, I'm going to hand it over to you. Who are you going for?
Oh, you know what? I'm going to go with Jake Benham for pole position today.
Okay.
I think he topped Q2 only by 0.02 of a second, so it still could be up in the air as to who it is actually going to be. But I'd say the young Englishman in the McLaren tonight is going to be my pick for pole.
Okay, here's your pick for pole. My pick for pole is going to be this man here, Alvaro Caraton. Very strong at Jeddah, over 1 lap. Showed it at times in qualifying 2. I'm going Caraton. I am going Alvaro Caraton to take the pole position here in Jeddah tonight. What have we got in the chat? We have got people going for Jake. One person's gone for Jack, who's, I don't know who Jack is. Okay.
Jack West.
Jack, is he in the top 10?
He's not. He was 15th.
Well, that'll be some effort. Ben Price has gone for Brendan Lee. Jasper's gone for Jake. Ben Price. Yeah. SimStaff's gone for Ron Hart. Jasper is determined to tell us it's Jake. Yes, Jasper, we've got you, mate. We've got you, Jake. Yes, I get it. KK Man's gone for Ronhar. Blako John, Brendan. King Data's gone for Jake. And our old pal, George Morgan, who's watching, has gone for Tomek. So, yeah, it's going to be very exciting, this qualifying session. No one seems to agree with me that Alvaro Caraton's going to get the pole position. We'll see what happens. But I'll tell you now, Jake Benham has started a flying lap. Let's see what he can do. Your pick for pole, Dan. Tell us about this lap.
We'll see what he can do. His teammate up the road has slowed down on his lap. So this is going to be the first representative Q3 time that we see today, if it all goes well for Jake Benham, as here he comes through the slaloming first sector, where you've got to be so nip and tuck with the throttle application, and he's taken this, dare I say, beautifully, as he comes up to the short DRS straight on the run down towards turn number 13. Ever so slightly banked. You've got to carry all the commitment on the exit, where you ride right up against the wall here, and Jake Benham carrying all that speed across in towards sector 2, where he comes in towards the next right-hander, quickly switches it over to a left, and he's going to get a nice little break here. It's all flat through this next sector, where you go through turns number 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21 on the run up towards turn number 22, where he's got to be so careful, but he's done that so nicely. DRS now applied as Jeffrey Ritchie crosses the line with a 41.1, and imagine he's going to be going for a second push lap here. But Jake Benham, what's his first effort in Q3 going to be, as he comes up towards turn number 27, where of course in 2021 Max Verstappen came a cropper at the wall, but Jake Benham has superseded that, and he's going to come up towards the line.
Wow.
It's going to be laying down the gauntlet with a 1 minute 26.037.
Luke Smith can't get near it, 26.3, but that's a very strong effort from Jake Benham to start this session. Tomek Perantis also on a really tidy lap. Here comes the Mercedes man out of the final corner. The Polish Eagle soaring to the line. Is he soaring to P1? He is! 126.0. He just about edges ahead. Alvaro Caraton is not in a quick lap. Shanaka Clay has gone fourth. Here comes Simon Schutter, but he's also invalidated. What about Thomas Ronhar? He's also invalidated. So many invalidations at the minute. What about Ruben Pedreño? He has not invalidated. He's a 10th down though on what Perantis and Benham did through the middle sector. Pedreño should be enough for P3. It is enough for P3. 1 minute 26.1 from him as Brendan Lee crosses the line, and he stays P9. Must have invalidated his lap. No improvement from him. Wow, what a start to the session. It's Tomek Perantis. First blood to him. He's on top by a fraction of a second, a fraction of a tenth ahead of Jake Benham.
That's assertive from Tomek Perantis. There's Jeffrey Ritchie on his second run by. Can't improve on his position, but yeah, from Tomek Perantis there, that is something special from him. And I've got to say, now that we're only 8,000 off of a 26 complete flat, you get the feeling that we're going to see a 25 at some point in this session. So I'm going to lay the question to everyone and yourself, Andy. I don't really care about who takes this lap, but what is our pole time going to be, everybody?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a really good question. Well, get your fingers going in the chat again, folks. What is going to be the lap time then, as Dan says? Are we going to get into the 25s? If we are, how far into the 25s are we going to get? Go to 5 rat, 25.8. High 0.8, says Charlie Pickering. Jasper, 25.8. Everyone's saying a 25.8. Well, if anyone can beat a 25.8, then I think it's going to be a special time. Kiki Man thinks we'll get a 25.7. Well, that would be a pretty special lap, wouldn't it? Ronhar, 25.879, says Gustavo. Jorge says 25.8 as well. Ben Price 25.9. LSR Norris 25.7. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be a pretty exciting end to this qualifying session. We're still in the 26s. Are these drivers expecting a bit much or not, Dan? What do you think? Or these fans, sorry. 25.4? 25.4? What? Okay. Yeah. I don't think so.
I think you need to lower your expectations ever so slightly, unless we see a complete worldie from someone in this lap. I mean, that would probably be the best lap in history of in the history of league racing. But I'd say we're getting to the point where they've reached near perfection in the lap time. So I don't think we're going to see too much of an improvement from these guys in qualifying. I'm going to say it's going to be a mid 0.9 is going to be our final pole time.
A think we'll get a 0.8. I think we might get a 0.8. I'm gonna agree with the chat. I think we might get a 0.8. There is now a vote, folks, in the chat. Tell us who's getting pole position. Tomic, Jake, Alvaro, or someone else. Comment below. I'm gonna put my vote in. I'm gonna go Alvaro, and that will tell me the voting. And only 11% of you agree. Okay, fair enough. Most people believe it will be Jake Benham. Most people in the same camp as you, Dan. 43% of the people that have voted so far in your camp.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's 39% now, but that is 39% of people that have come out with the right choice here. So, well done to everyone.
Fighting talk from Danfield. There's still 3 minutes and 40 to go, Dan. Don't get too excited.
I mean, hey, I'd be happy with anyone getting pole position, but I just want to beat you, Andy.
Okay. Very competitive in the commentary box, folks. Very competitive, it has to be said. As Luke Smith then is on an outlap, as is Thomas Ronhar, as is Shanaka Clay, Thyman Shooter as well. So then, 3 minutes to go in qualifying. It's first blood to Tomic Paradzis in his Mercedes. Jake Benham in second. Ruben Pedreño in third. Luke Smith in P4 as we get ready for the closing stages of this session. Are we going to get into the 1 minute 25s? My hunch is we will. It's going to take that to get pole in a grid this strong. So here is Luke Smith at the minute on his outlap, just prepping the tyres, getting ready for a very big lap. We spoke at the top of the show about how hard it is to knit together a lap around Jeddah. The most corners on the Formula 1 calendar of any track with 27. One of the longest in terms of distance as well. High speed too, the fastest street circuit in the world. So easy to make a mistake, and it really does punish the driver. So here's Luke Smith, and look at that, taking the longest run, right out to catapult round that final corner, the longest possible time on throttle. It means when he crosses the line, he'll be at the highest possible speed, and he crosses that line now and gets the lap started here in qualifying 3, Dan.
Absolutely, I'd imagine if he's come out this early, he's geared up for 2 runs here. If all goes awry on this run, then he's going to have a second opportunity. He's avoiding traffic from Pedreño and Benham, 2 drivers that are actually ahead of him in the pecking order at the moment. We just have 2 minutes left to go in this qualifying session as Luke Smith is flying through the first sector, currently on a 26.3. How much is he up by in sector 1? And he's already 800ths, just shy of 1/10 of an improvement at the moment. So Luke Smith through now turn number 13, keeping it. Oh dear, he's backed off.
Oh, so pressure telling there for Luke Smith. He bails out. What about Thomas Ronhar? He's still going though. Currently in 8th place, the winner a couple of races ago, looking for a strong showing as he flies round the circuit in that Aston Martin, the emerald green, pushing hard. P8 at the minute, no time set. What can he do at the minute? Paradzis on top with a 26.0. Ronhar setting the timing screen purple, and you know what that means? He might be on the fastest lap of the session so far. It's Thomas Ronhar with a minute to go, leaving the best till last to dip into the 1 minute 25s. Up towards the final corner of turn 27 now, right out towards the edge of the track, opens up that final turn, gets on the throttle. Don't do Max Verstappen, he doesn't, and now he can head towards the line here in Saudi Arabia tonight. Is it the first man into the 125s? It is 125.9. Thomas Ronhar at the minute is on pole position. Brendan Lee is on a lap. Luke Smith, of course, he bailed out of that one. What about Thyman Shooter? He's coming to the line now. He's 2/10 down on Ronhar. Crossed the line, only goes 5th. 1 minute 26.2. Who's next to cross the line? It will be Jake Benham. No improvement. He was on an outlap, sorry. What about Richie? He goes up to 5th now. What about Alvaro Canaton? Is he on a lap at the minute? He is, but I believe Brendan Lee is further round his lap, so we'll keep an eye on him. But I believe Paradzis has invalidated his lap as well. Pedreño's gone 4. We'll stick with Brendan Lee for now then, as he weaves his way in that Scarlet Ferrari through the final sector of the lap. Currently only 10th quickest. The man who was the winner in PSGL on Wednesday night with a dominant display, rolling back the years like something we've seen when he was winning his titles in his championship glory days in esports. He clips the wall out the final corner. Has he lost time as Brendan Lee looks for the line, looks for pole, can only manage 5th with a 1 minute 26.1. Now, where's my pick for pole? Here he is, Alvaro Canaton in the final corner, and it's Max Ronhar and Paradzis up to this point. Here comes the Spaniard. Can he steal pole right at the end? He can! 125.9, Alvaro Canaton. But there are drivers out there, Dan, on quick laps.
Absolutely. Thomas Ronhar not pushing at the moment. Tomek Paragic not going quicker. Benham is invalid. Pedreño is slightly down on his lap at the moment. Jeffrey Ritchie not pushing. Luke Smith invalid, so that leaves Josh Shanaka-Clay at the moment, who can contest his teammate as he's just coming through turns number 26 and 27 now off the exit of the final corner. His teammate topping the pecking order at the moment. Shanaka-Clay at the tail end of the field as he comes towards the line. He can only go into 5th position, but you get the feeling, Andy, that you were correct here as Alvaro Caratol. Pedreño gets ever so close to Thomas Ronhar, but it was just 100th shy. But it is Alvaro Caraton out on top.
It is Alvaro Caraton. I've nailed it. I've got this one right. Finally, I've got one right. Alvaro Caraton, the Spaniard, on pole position. 1 minute 25.924. We didn't quite get a 0.8, but we got into the 25s, and it was the Spaniard who rules supreme tonight in Jeddah. He beats Thomas Ronhar, and what a lap from Ruben Pedreño, who almost snatched it at the death. Great effort from him. 2 Spaniards in the top 3 places. Paragic 4th, Jake Benham 5th, and Shanaka-Clay home in 6th. But it's all about this man, Alvaro Caraton. What a lap that was, Dan.
Absolutely, and you're just seeing everyone exiting the session. At the bottom of your screen, we are having a restart due to an ongoing glitch where some drivers can be put onto fresh set of tyres. That creates such a disparity in pace in the race, so we are nipping that in the bud. Going for the restart, it's also going to help Paragic because he's been slapped in the face actually with a 5-place grid penalty. I'd imagine that he's going to get that one removed. So we are just having a quick lobby restart, but that gives us all the more time to talk about this session, Andy.
Yep, absolutely. Alvaro Caraton then leaving it very late to deliver that 1 minute 25.9 to give him the pole position in this race tonight. Let's have a look at the final results from qualifying. Alvaro Caraton on top for Williams ahead of Thomas Ronhar in 2nd. It's Ruben Pedreño who completes 2 Spaniards in the top 3 for Haas, almost getting pole right at the very end of the session. Tomek Paragic P4, as you spoke about that penalty, well, it should be removed. Jake Benham in 5th with Shanaka-Clay in 6th position. Brendan Lee only 7th. That bump with the barrier in the final corner will have cost him time in the run to the line. Wonder what kind of time he could have posted if it wasn't for that. Ritchie was 8th, Simon Shooter was 9th, and Luke Smith was 10th. And you know what? I'm actually going to have a little look at this race director and have a look at the time that Brendan Lee was doing up to the middle sector. Oh, didn't quite get the chance to see it, which is a bit of a shame. But anyway, nonetheless, I'm sure we'll hear from him at some point over the course of tonight. What a session though. Caraton on top. Really exciting. We've got some drivers outside the top 10, Dan, on a different strategy, and that could make things very interesting. The medium tyre, clearly the preferred choice for many drivers.
It's going to cause a big mix-up when we get to the race. The drop-off from fresh softs to fresh mediums is about 1.1 seconds. So in the early stages of the race, the top 10 are going to streak away from those on the mediums, but of course they're going to close very, very quickly. And once it comes to the crossover point, all the soft runners will be into the pits, and then the medium runners, they're really going to shine in the later stages of this race. And I'd like to mention, Andy, even though you got the pole prediction right, and fair play to you, Alvaro Caraton came out on top. I think everyone who said a 25.8 isn't, they're not looking too good at the moment. But to those who said a 25.9, like myself, well done to you.
Yeah, okay, Dan, I'll give you that one. It's one each. It's one each. Fair enough. Mind you, I never predicted the pole time, so I'm not quite going to give you that one. I never
25.8.
Oh, fair enough then. Whatever. Fair enough. Anyway, folks, we're getting ready for the action. We're having a quick lobby reset. But before we do, let's have a quick look at GridRival. Be sure to sign up. Racing has never been this fun. Join World Online Racing. Search World Online Racing, no spaces, league today on the GridRival app, and sign up for our fantasy league on the Formula 1 action. You can pick your drivers, Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, whoever your favourite is. Yeah, basically make your guesses on who's going to perform well over the weekend and get involved in the standings, in the battle and the fight for glory. We add £25 for every 25 members that join up as well to the prize pot. So be sure to check that one. Every 50 members, we add £25 to the prize pot. So be sure to check that one out. But yeah, very exciting coming up this race. Should be a cracker. Any predictions for who's going to win? Can anyone outside that top 10 threaten? Is it possible?
Absolutely, 100%. We are going to see the likes of Longe, Parnell, and Jarno Ottmar come through the field. It is also key to mention that Jarno is unfortunately feeling a little bit under the weather, so that could impact his performance in this race. But that being said, the pace at the top of the order is undeniable. That's going to make for a brilliant scrap towards the later end of this race. Hopefully we're not going to see what we saw in some races at Jeddah, where of course drivers just streak away and there's no battling whatsoever. Hopefully everything is going to be nice and tight between this grid.
Yeah, absolutely. We can certainly hope that that is the case, Dan. I've got to ask you your prediction. Who are you going to go for the victory, Dan? I'm not sure yet. What is everyone else in the chat thinking? Come on, tell us. We've got already Bolts is going for a Sam Corby podium. Well, he likes a podium in this tier, doesn't he, Dan? You like it when he gets a podium as well, I believe.
Love it.
Yeah, exactly. So you're well on top of that one. You and Bolts would be good friends.
Me and Jordan are friends.
Oh, there you go. No wonder.
Back in the PlayStation days, myself and Bolts and Sam Corby as well would all be playing all sorts of games. So I'm on board with that one. I think there's a late safety car, especially. I believe both of Sam Corby's podiums this season have actually come from late safety cars. If we see a late safety car in this race, we're going to see Corby on the podium. I think it's inevitable at this point. You know, there's three things that are guaranteed to happen in life. It's death, taxes, and a Sam Corby podium in WOR after a late safety car.
Okay, fine. I'm going to nail you to that one. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, prediction time, folks, in the chat. Who's going to get the victory? Is it going to be someone in that top 10 around the sharp end? The likes of Caraton, the likes of Pedreño, the likes of Ron Hart? Is it going to be someone up the top end? Or is it going to come from someone outside that top 10? I mean, Dan, what do you think? Will it be a Longe? Will it be a Parnell, like Ottmar? Or will it be one of those guys up the top of the grid? Go on. I'm going to have to ask you to go for it.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit stumped, actually, because
Yeah, it's
I
tough.
simply just don't know.
It's tough.
I think it's going to be Longe today. I'm going to go for it. Starting from P11 on the medium compound of tyre. Obviously, that isn't as set in stone as it was if Brendan Lee didn't decide to... if Brendan Lee didn't mess up his unfortunate timing. I think Longe, maybe it's not as set in stone if that was the case, but I do think he is going to come through the grid on the alternate strategy and win today.
Well, since I've asked the question, not one person has said anything in the chat other than Jarno Ottmar for the victory. Everyone is going for Ottmar. King Data says it's going to be Ottmar. Ora has gone for Jarno Ottmar. Jasper's gone for Jarno. Wit Pleasure has gone for Jarno. Kiki's gone for Jarno. Everyone is going for Jarno. Someone says Louis Welsh podium, and I'm right down for that. I am well up for that. I love a Louis Welsh podium. Someone has said Luke Smith for the win, so there is someone going for anyone other than a Jarno victory. So Liam Parnell says Carter Lundy as well. So a real mixture beginning to come in now. Nexton agrees with you, Longe. Astoria Gaming going for Longe as well. So a few drivers going for a few fans going for Longe too. Should be an exciting race. Various strategies, bound to be a cracker, Dan. I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like it's going to be dry conditions. I'm looking at the lobby here. No sign of any rain. We had rain in PSGL incredibly here, but doesn't look like we're going to have any of that tonight in WOR. So it should be a straight fight at the front. And to be honest, Dan, I feel like dry races on the game are always better, but in real life, wet races are better. Would you agree with that?
I always do prefer a dry race, to be honest. I mean, wet racing sort of does the opposite of promoting good racing, and certainly today, being a Daniel Ricciardo, Alonso, and Leclerc fan myself, you know, I think I had a terrible day in the wet, so I think I'd have to agree with you that dry races are better, most certainly on the game. It is a lot easier for these drivers to battle it out, so I'd say we are in the ideal conditions, and given that it only rains in Saudi Arabia about 6 times in a year, then I'd say that we've got the most likely of conditions.
Yeah, absolutely, we sure do. Just in case you're wondering, folks, we're just about to get the lobby back underway. It's just ticking down to the final few seconds, and we will get going. So, Dan, I'm going to have time to make my prediction. You went for Longe. I'm going to go for Caraton. I think Caraton, from Paul, I'm going to go for him. I think he's going to do it on that strategy. That's my prediction. We'll see what comes out on top. Everyone's got many different predictions. Trayvon Blair's gone for Benham as well. So many different suggestions being made. But that's what we love here about WR. You can never know who's going to come out on top. And it is now time for round 12 of the season. We're heading to Jeddah. Let's get into the action now. Welcome along to round number 12 of the season here in WR, the World Online Racing Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Round 12 from the Jeddah Corniche Street Circuit here in WOR. What a circuit it is, brand new to the Formula 1 calendar last year in 2021, and what a circuit and what drama it has. In its inaugural race, Saudi Arabia had 4 changes for the lead of the final lap in PlayStation Tier 1 and in PC Tier 1 last year. Here's the circuit, 6.174 kilometres, 3.8 kilometres and 27 turns. The most turns on any Formula 1 track on the calendar, and look at that. Such a challenging circuit for the drivers here tonight. Here's the championship situation. Nicholas Longhi 7 points clear of Tomic Paradis in the standings at the minute, with Alvaro Caraton within striking distance as well. Winners last time out, Jarno Opmeer in Season 11 on the PC and Sam Corby on the PlayStation. Let's take a look at some of the previous drama down the years. Here is Super Sam Corby going for a last gasp win in the PlayStation Tier 1 last year, round the outside of Jensen, who is the current Tier 1 leader on PlayStation at the minute in the championship fight. Lovely move from Sam as he took the victory. And what about this on the final lap? Tom Martinez snatching second right at the very end as he made the run towards the line. A few drivers had penalties. Tom to the line, just about gets ahead, and over the line gets ahead because of the penalties as well. Great action there, Dan, as we get ready for the action. We're just waiting on the formation lap beginning, and I'm sure, Dan, it's about to begin in a few moments' time, and then we'll be able to see what tyre compounds some of the drivers have gone for. And I believe we can jump into the formation lap now and take a look at those tyre compounds. Let's see what everyone outside that top 10 has gone for. I'm pretty sure we're going to see a lot of mediums, and there you go, everyone going for the medium compound, and that is not really a surprise at all, Dan, is it?
Yep, it is a 50-50 split throughout the entirety of this grid, and it is going to be fresh tyres all around as well. Of course, with the lobby restart, everyone is on a level playing field. Of course, normally we would see the top 10 all starting on the tyre that they qualified in Q2 on. They still have to stick to that compound. Of course, in real F1 this season, they can start on any tyre that they want, but it is still F1 2021 regulations for us here today. So whatever the result is, it is going to be a fantastic race, and I'd imagine all of that, Andy, or a large portion of that, is going to be based around the strategy.
Yep, you're absolutely right. It's going to be a real strategic battle. Will the alternate strategy be the option to go for here in Jeddah tonight? Well, some people certainly think so. I'm not one of them. I am going to stick with Alvaro Caraton, our pole sitter. Dan has gone for Nicholas Longhi from P11 on the grid. He's the lead driver on that alternate strategy. Let's see what is the best strategy to go for here in Jeddah tonight. 25 laps ahead of us, and it's about to get underway as they come towards the end now of that formation lap. And here is Alvaro Caraton at the minute, heading round towards the grid in a few moments' time. It's going to be an important start off the grid. It's quite a short run, Dan, though, isn't it? So Caraton shouldn't have too many problems holding on to that lead. Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, it's not like we saw in Imola today, where I think it was like 175 meters down. Oh, I don't even know how long it was in towards the first corner. It's a very short run here. So Alvaro Caraton, if he gets a good getaway, then he's going to be comfortably ahead of Thomas Ronhaar in this one. But they're all filing into their grid slots now. Taking up the right-hand side of the grid, going to have the outside line in towards the first corner. It's the Williams of Alvaro Caraton lining up alongside Thomas Ronhaar as the last few drivers just pull into their grid slots, Andy. It's going to be a cracker.
Yep, they're all pulling in now then for round 12 of the season here in Jeddah. The championship getting very, very close. Nicholas Longhi only 7 points now ahead of Tomic Paradis. Alvaro Caraton waiting in the wings behind in third in the standings. The front two are in their slots. Moving into his spot now, right at the back of the grid is Louis Welsh, and that means the light sequence is about to get underway. Caraton and Ronhaar share the front row. Let's get ready for the action here in Jeddah tonight. Waiting for the light sequence to begin. It's taking its time. Come on, Michael Massey. Come on. Doesn't look like we're going to get it anytime soon, as we're just sitting idling on the grid. Caraton waiting, Ronhard alongside him, staring right at him. Pedreño in behind that. Perez is in fourth, knows he can cut the championship gap tonight. There's Nicholas Longi in P11 on the alternate strategy. Parnell alongside him. And we've got Jarno Ottmeier starting from unlucky P13. What can he do tonight as we wait and wait and wait for this light sequence, Dan?
I have no idea what's going on there. I mean, if this is the case, all of these drivers' tyres are going to be getting so much colder, but I can see... yeah, I'm watching the back of the grid. I think this is an issue with Tara Buchan. If I've just gone on board with Louis Welch, and the Alpine car has... he's got a red X and he's left session.
Yep, so we've lost Andre Terabuchan and now the light sequence will begin. Finally we'll get underway. Round 12 begins in Jeddah tonight and Alvaro Caraton leads from pole position. Ronhard does his best to get alongside but can't quite get there on the run to turn 1. Yes, he can in fact. Oh, what a move from Ronhard. We've got a spinner in the background. No. Pedreño round from P3 but Ronhard got the march, got the jump and the Dutchman takes the lead away from the Spaniard. Caraton going backwards as has his countryman Ruben Pedreño right to the back of the grid. Parnell's gone already as well, and we've got a virtual safety car, Dan.
VSC very early puts a pin in the action right at this point, but it is Thomas Ronhard leading from Alvaro Caraton. Not a good start for the Spaniard. I believe that we have lost Liam Parnell to a barrier, unfortunately, and in all of that, as the VSC's been deployed, I think Sam Corby and Louis Welch have made some sort of contact, and unfortunately, Corby has come out of that one with a 5-second time penalty.
Yeah, so Corby with a 5-second time penalty, but what about this man, Ruben Pedreño, third on the grid, superb performance in qualifying, spun round and back to P19 and in the rear of the field. Has he got any damage to his tyres? Flat spotted them, doesn't look like it, and the wing looks intact as well, but that is not at all what we'd have been hoping for. It's a very long virtual safety car. We've nearly done a full lap under the virtual safety car. And at the minute, no sign of it abating just yet. No ending sign. Will that trigger any pit stops at this stage? Surely not.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't imagine so, but we've just got to keep on waiting here. I mean, this has been quite the glitch session early on in the game. Of course, we've lost Tarabuchan. I don't believe he is able to rejoin. But at the end of the first lap, here we are. We're back underway. Green flag racing. Thomas Ronhard gets to complete the first lap. Not as quick as he would have liked, but at this point in time, it is the Dutchman leading from the Spaniards.
Here comes Jake Benham down the inside on Shinaka Clay into turn 1. He's going for the move, the young Brit, and he bangs wheels with Shinaka Clay and almost gets sent spinning. Just about keeps it on the island. We've lost another car. Pedreño retires in the pit lane. He's had enough already, but Benham, very impatient, not keen to hang around. Couldn't quite get the move done on Shinaka Clay. And he stays in P5 at the minute, but clearly Jake Benham trying to catch Shinaka Clay napping on the restart there, but couldn't quite manage it. Luke Smith, meanwhile, in P9 is right behind Thyman Shooter and into turn 13. He's going to try and go right round the outside of Thyman Shooter. What a move that would be, but he can't manage it, and Shooter covers it off. But on the exit, Luke Smith's got a much better run, and the Alfa Romeo is getting ever closer, but as they get to the braking point, he will not be able to make that move.
So it's been quite the hectic start so far, as in towards the second sector they go. I think Luke Smith still wants to go for this move, and Thyman Shooter's certainly closing to the back of the McLaren of Jeffrey Ritchie, so all three of these guys can have a nice scrap as they come in towards turns number 22 and 23. Oh, as Thyman Shooter loses the rear ever so slightly, that's going to surely open the door for Luke Smith as he closes down this straight, but I don't believe he's close enough as they all file in towards turn number 27 further up the order. Jake Benham is getting close to the rear of Shinaka Clay, and this, crucially, Andy, is going to be lap number 3 where DRS gets enabled.
Yeah, and here comes Jake Benham then getting ever closer to the back of Shinaka Clay, not as close as he was last time round, and he won't quite get that move into turn 1. What about Luke Smith in P9? Thinks about a move behind Thyman Shooter, thinks better of it and stays in 9th at the minute. But I tell you what, this has been a really explosive start to this Grand Prix, especially at the front. We've got plenty of action inside that top 10 as we watch right now. Luke Smith following Thyman Shooter, and he looks desperate to get through, but I don't think it's going to be particularly easy. It might be a bit like Imola today in real life Formula 1, but it's a bit of a DRS train because that is everyone really well bunched up there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be very tricky to overtake if you're all within a DRS and all, and benefiting from the luxury of it. It cancels out the effect, so they've got to find another avenue to overtake on. possibly in this second sector if they get a good run out of turn number, I believe this is turn 15 or 16, where it's completely flat until turn number 22. If they mess up that run, it's going to invite the likes of the drivers behind into an overtake, and certainly Jeffrey Ritchie seems like he wants to do that as he's closing to the rear of Brendan Lee towards turn number 22 and 23. If the Dutchman can get a good exit, oh dear, he's completely made a mess of that one. And I think now, Andy, Timon Shooter's closing in his Red Bull car and towards turn number 27.
Oh, sorry, Canaton down the inside of Ronhar there for the lead of the race, and Ronhar's just gone ahead, sorry, of Alvaro Canaton, hasn't? No, he was already ahead, but Canaton trying to come back through, and maybe now down the start-finish straight, we're going to see a move here. He's getting right behind him, and Canaton breezes down the inside. Look at Parages, he's here as well, trying to take P2, and Parages has just about muscled his way through, has he? Side by side with Thomas Ronhar. Ronhar keeps his foot in, keeps his car there, and somehow is still in P2, is he? No, Parages is through, up into second, and Ronhar loses 2 places in one move. Action everywhere in the field at the minute. Canaton regains the lead that he lost at the start, and Parages takes P2.
Great battling that we've seen there, and they could possibly carry this on until the rest of the Grand Prix as Parages is closing in towards turn number 13, the banked left-hander, but for the time being, Alvaro Caraton is going to stay ahead. An opportunistic dive up the inside in towards the first corner. Tommy Parages had a more difficult job of getting by Thomas Ronhar, who's lost 2 positions in the space of 1 lap. Not good for the Dutchman in this race, but here comes Parages once again closing to the rear of Alvaro Caraton in towards the second sector as they're all lifting off, not wanting to take the DRS off each other, as in towards turn number 22 and 23. Here they go down in towards turn number 25 and 26. Here they go. Tommy Parages closing to Alvaro Caraton. Ronhar's looking in this fight as well, as there goes Parages to the outside of the Spaniard in towards turn number 27, and he's got the move done around the outside. Thomas Ronhar's trying to get involved here as well, Andy. It is pandemonium at the front of the order.
What a start to this Grand Prix. Very exciting stuff as Ronhar now trying to come straight back at Caraton as he runs down the straight, and here comes Parages. He's in real trouble. Caraton breezes past him. Ronhar around the outside as well into turn 2. Ronhar will have the inside. On the outside is Parages. He'll get squeezed out there, surely. No, he gets the traction, but Caraton regains the lead once again. What a start to this race, and Caraton as they reach turn 4 and 5. The slow section of the track where it's single file is now back in the lead. Parages second and Ronhar third. If it's going to continue on like this, this could be a classic here in Jeddah tonight. Caraton leads, Parages second and Ronhar third, Dan.
And further back behind for 4th position, we've seen some scrapping as well. Jake Benham's trying to overtake Shanaka Clay, and all this fighting surely is just benefiting the medium runners in behind. They're burning off their softs as early as they can, and that means they're going to have to stop earlier in this Grand Prix. So at this point in time, Andy, I don't see how this is going to be beneficial to them. I mean, we get to benefit from it because we see some brilliant scraps, but for the racers and for the soft runners, it's not going to be helpful.
No, it's an absolute disaster for them. They're just, I mean, everyone's within a second, including the medium runners at the minute. And look at Jake Benham. He's fed up behind Shanaka Clay. He's tried so many times to make a move. Meanwhile, at the front, they just don't know where to look. Look at that for a helicopter shot. 5 cars all jostling together into the braking zone. Somehow it's still Caraton in the lead. Parages round the outside, side by side with Ronhar. Surely Caraton is going to be a sitting duck down the straight as we now are about to start lap number 6. Parages goes to the left. Ronhar will surely go to the right. We're 3 wide going into turn 1, and it will be Parages in the lead. Ronhar second, and Caraton now back to third. Incredible.
Shanaka Clay almost outbroke himself there, had to avoid Alvaro Caraton, and that could have scared the Williams pair. As in towards the first sector they go, where they file out into a 1-car train. We get a slight break in the action before the second sector, where they all bunch up together, and then that leads to an uproarious battle for the lead of this race. These guys have got to rein it in a little bit. I get the feeling that they are going to start to settle into a rhythm in this race, because these soft tyres will not last forever, and when you put it into retrospect, in the long run this won't help, because Longuet has not been dropped. He's still well within DRS of all these drivers at this point in time. So surely by the end of this race, Andy, he's going to be benefiting the most.
Yep, no doubt about it. He'll be benefiting the most, as will Jan Wopmy, who's right behind Nicholas Longay as well on lap 6 out of 25. It has been a thriller so far as Parazis is a little bit out of shape, and Ron Hart is now reeling him in once again as they go down towards that final corner, and Parazis ain't even going to fight it. Ron Hart breezes past him down the straight and regains the lead of this Grand Prix. I've never seen so many lead changes in all my life in WOR. It's been a cracker, and is Parazis now about to repass Ron Hart in a Leclerc Verstappen repeat here. Down the straight they go, and here comes Parazis gaining and gaining on Ron Hart. Is he going to go for the move into turn 1? You better believe it. He is. Through he goes, takes the place, and Parazis regains the lead. Ron Hart second, Caraton third. What a race here in Jeddah tonight. The top 7 or 8 all in a line at the minute here in Jeddah tonight. It has been insane as we go on board with Jake Benham, who's still stuck behind Shinaka Clay.
Tantalizing stuff from all of these drivers, and you've got to give them respect. They've been able to keep it clean throughout its entirety. It is a pleasure and a joy to watch as they continue on in this race down towards turn number 13. Further back down the order, some of the medium runners not having a good time. I think Van Erven's just picked up his second penalty of this race, but it's still Tomek Parazis out in front with Thomas Ronhaar in P2, Alvaro Caraton following in P3. These guys will bunch up through the next part of the circuit. Of course, turns number, well, the second sector is completely flat through here, but they actually count as corners. Jake Benham is getting close to the rear of Shinaka Clay, and if he can get a good run through 22 and 23, you get the feeling the McLaren is going to pounce on the Williams, and that is certainly the case, as here comes Jake Benham. He's been teeing this up for a number of laps now, gets close to the rear of Shinaka Clay. He's closing, he has to go the long way around through turn number 26 at the front of the order. Ronald's getting past Tomek Parazis into turn number 27. There you go, here comes Jake Benham soaring around the outside of Shinaka Clay. Alvaro Caraton trying to play the team game and help his teammate out here, but it could all come be in vain, as there goes Parazis back around the outside of Thomas Ronhaar in towards turn number 1. And Andy, once again, it is sensational battling.
It's incredible, just changing lap after lap, and what we could see at in the back of the screenshot, or the back of the shot there, was the Nicholas Longay and Jan Wopmy just gently ploughing around the circuit, not bothering too much, watching it all happen in front of them, and it's just working perfectly for the medium runners. Let's go on board with Longay. You can practically see the front of the field as we ride on board with them. He can see the front of the field down some of these straights. There you go, he can see the front. You can see Parazis turning in just up the road, and these guys are on the weaker tyre at this stage of the race. So it's all falling into place for Longay, Opmia, and even Jack West, as we now lose Tara Buchan, but in the pits, so it won't be a safety car.
Yeah, unfortunate for Jack West. Not Jack West, Andre Tarabukin. He was glitched from the start. Really unfortunate scenes. But at the front of the order, I think we're going to see what we've been seeing throughout 8 laps of this race so far. Thomas Ronhaar within 2/10 of Tomek Parazis down this back straight, where we get to see the DRS being enabled. And you get the feeling that Tomek Parazis is not going to fight this whatsoever. He is going to benefit, though, from the DRS down in towards the first corner off the exit of turn number 27. Can Ronhaar maintain this lead? He's not been able to so far this race, and he's not going to be able to this time by, because Tomek Parazis says see ya bye as he goes right around the outside once again into the braking zone of the first corner, and the Polish driver is doing an excellent job of maintaining the lead. As Andy, we've seen a pit stop from Jake Benham.
Jake Benham's had enough then. He's been in that train of cars, and he's now decided it's time to pull the pin and get off those tyres and get on a fresh set. I'll tell you another man that did that, Simon Schutter. He's still coming down the start-finish straight. Jake Benham will be well clear of him. So out onto the track goes Jake Benham. How many cars can he undercut here, and will that trigger some pit stops from the likes of Parazis, Ronhaar and Caraton, and maybe even Clay, Lee and Smith as well? So through turn 13 they go, and at the minute Parazis still in control, Dan.
Yeah, unfortunately for Simon Schutter, he's fitted a new front wing, and that is why he's 7 seconds behind Jake Benham, who is going to be the fastest driver out on circuit. All of these soft runners at the moment, from 1 to 7, have got to pit to cover off the undercut. As in towards the second sector split they go to cross into sector 3. You get the feeling, Andy, that we're going to see what we've seen once again, because Thomas Ronhaar closing to Parazis.
Yeah, closing right in on the back of Tomek Parazis. But the question is Is he going to go for the move, or are we going to see some pit stops? Oh, look at that into the final corner. It almost looked like he was going for a late dive bomb there. Thomas Ronhart in the end didn't go for it. And is that a move towards the pit lane for Parages? It is. Parages is in. So Ronhart stays out, Caraton stays out, Clay stays out, which is a bit of a surprise because that's both Williams still on the track. So Parages pits. The question now then, where will he be in relation to Jake Benham? And I tell you what, Parages might have been held there while Ritchie was pitting, and that might help the teammate of Jeffrey Ritchie, Jake Benham, as we now lose Matthias Van Everve from the race. There's Jake Benham, but on the inside, cutting the corner is Parages. Will he be in front? He will just stay ahead of Jake Benham for now.
And, well, you see that Tomek Parages has just emerged behind some traffic, and this is really going to hinder his race and might actually benefit the likes of Alvaro Caraton, Shanaka Clay. All these guys won't be able to come out ahead of this traffic, and it's really going to hinder them. So here comes Parages. He has to clear them as soon as he can, as he goes around the outside at turn number 13 here. Sensational overtake if he can get it done, as Louis Welch has the older medium tyres. And yeah, Tomek Parages makes the move stick, and he's got to overtake the AI car of Patrick Sipos, and then Hoffman and Corby, and then he's going to have free air and all the track to himself.
Still valuable time lost though, that's the problem for Parages, but he's making his way through it without too much trouble, and that's another move. Jake Benham now needs a move, and is he going to try and go brave into 22, 23? Not quite, but he will be losing valuable time, and you'll be seeing Parages get more than a second ahead as Louis Welch almost squeezes Jake Benham against the barrier, just about leaves enough room. Benham breezes through. Next up will be Hoffland, as in front of that, Parages has now got through on Corby as well. They're making their way through the traffic pretty well, but Benham agonisingly getting caught here behind both Corby and Hoffland, and I don't think he's going to get Corby before turn 1. He will get Hoffland, and we'll see that move being completed now, but the problem for Jake Benham is he's not going to get Corby in Sector 1, which is where he really needs to get him, because it's so tough to make a move. As Thomas Ronhart rejoins the track behind Jake Benham. That was so close, and that's going to really hurt Thomas Ronhart as well, Dan.
So Jake Benham, despite being caught in this traffic, has been able to undercut Thomas Ronhart. Now runs in a net P2 in this Grand Prix.
Caraton's way back as well.
Whoa.
Miles back. Disaster for Caraton as well, Dan. Everyone that's pitting now is making a really bad move, and Caraton also stuck in the middle sector, having to make a move on Brendan Lee, and still, now Jake Benham's got ahead of Corby, but Ronhart's still behind him. He's almost pushing him out of turn 13. Valuable time being lost here by all the drivers that started the race on the soft tyre.
Yeah, they've just been so unfortunate with this traffic that they've caught, and they were dropped at the very beginning of the race. They were caught behind Tara Buchan's AI, who was going slower in the VSC period. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, Brendan Lee has overtaken Shanaka Clay for the lead of this Grand Prix. Will we see the top three at the moment peel off into the pit lane? Brendan Lee makes his intention clear as well. He dives late into the pit lane there, almost trying to bait the likes of Shanaka Clay. Luke Smith has stayed out on circuit, and he is now the lone soft runner in this one.
Yeah, that was a really late chop across from Brendan Lee. But where are these guys going to rejoin? It's going to be an even worse situation for them. They're going to be behind Alvaro Caraton, I think, as Brendan Lee makes his way down the pit lane. Shanaka Clay now moves out as well, and at the minute this is falling right into place for the drivers on the medium compound. But look at this, we now watch Shanaka Clay rejoin right at the back of the train as Brendan Lee, whoa, comes charging out onto the track and hits Sam Corby. Well, that was a little bit aggressive there, and that might be one for the stewards, because that was a pretty aggressive move there as Lee rejoined when well, Sam Corby was there, wasn't he?
And also just something to note, Andy, Jake Benham's picked up a 3-second time penalty for track extensions. Of course, they can get removed if he's received a double warning somewhere along the road, but that is certainly going to hurt him, if not for his race, you know, just the confidence of it as well, because, you know, he still could be on the bubble. If he gets another warning, that is going to be a penalty maintained. So Jake Benham, he's got to be tiptoeing around this circuit now, and when the stakes are so high, you can't afford that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, he's going to really lose a lot of time now if nobody behind him picks up a penalty. There's no doubt about that. It's his race has unravelled Jake Benham by pitting when he did and having to clear all that traffic. To be honest, the likes of Shanaka Clay and Brendan Lee, they haven't actually had to clear anyone, well, apart from Sam Corby. But apart from that, they've not had to clear anyone else, as Luke Smith now makes his stop. And I actually believe the later pit stop was the right decision for some of these drivers because they've not taken anything out of the tyres, they've not had to overtake any of the slower runners. And Luke Smith's now going to make this pit stop, rejoin the track with fresher tyres, and I would think probably ahead of Duncan Hoffland, who's the last remaining runner on the medium tyre. Let's see where he rejoins now, out onto the track. Is he ahead of Hoffland? He is. There you go, just gets in front of him. And that's worked out well for Luke Smith. Fresher tyres than everyone else in front of him, and he's right in the train without having to make any moves.
He's going to be a bit of a dark horse in this race, I'd imagine Luke Smith to be. Of course, he hasn't gained any track position with this overcut like Jake Benham did previously, where he's able to overtake Thomas Ronhaar, which he has, by the way, lost at this point. Now Thomas Ronhaar back into a net P2. So I'd say in the long run, whilst in the short term it looked like it was a good call to come into the pits early, get out of the train and try and jump some runners, I just have to say that these backmarker cars like Hoffland, Welch and Corby have really put these at a disadvantage, and Jake Benham, Tomek Parajas, Thomas Ronhaar, all of those who pitted slightly earlier are going to be worse off later on in this race, and that's going to allow for Nicholas Longe, Jarno Uppmeer, the likes of those runners who are on the mediums and can take them to a later stage in this race, then strap on a set of the softs. They're going to be in the best position possible.
Yep, and we're watching Jarno Uppmeer now get closer to the back of Nicholas Longe. We've barely picked any of these guys up, given the action at the front of the soft runners at the start of the Grand Prix, but we're now picking them up now as, wait a minute, here comes Ronhaar for what is the net lead of the race, down the inside of Parajas, and that will be the net lead of this Grand Prix when Longe and Uppmeer make their stops. Thomas Ronhaar moves back into the lead of this race on lap 14 out of 25. It's been chopping and changing between he, Parajas and Caraton, but now the Dutchman has decided to hit the pedal to the floor and go to the front of the field, and he now leads, well, net leads this Grand Prix as we wait for Longe and Uppmeer to stop.
And these guys have got to be as quick as they can at this stage. The pit lane loss is only 18.2 seconds around this circuit. So at the moment, it's going to be Nicholas Longe. When he pulls into the pit lane, he will just be behind Louis Welch, and Louis Welch will pit at some point, but they are going to be right at the rear of the lead runners field. So they've got to be careful at this stage, and they've got to be as quick as they can to actually just close that gap as best they could. And we'll see how that works out for them later on in this race. We've actually seen, by the way, some of the medium runners who started out on this set pit, like Jack West and Sam Corby. All of them started on the set of the medium tyres, and they've now boxed onto the softs. You get the feeling that Nicholas Longe and Jarno Uppmeer are going to be thinking about it soon, but not this time by. They're going to go for at least one more run around this circuit. And myself, Andy, I predict they're going to pit around about lap 17.
Well, let's see if you're on the money, Dan. Let's see if that is the case as we watch some of the action here. Jake Benham under a little bit of pressure here from Alvaro Caraton, getting a little bit closer, but not close enough for a move. Is Parajas, is he going to go for a move into turn one? No, stays at the minute in behind Thomas Ronhaar in what is a colossal fight for the net lead of this Grand Prix, from Ronhaar all the way down to Luke Smith at the tail of this train. The question is, it is Jeddah, and it does appear you can overtake, so can Longe and Uppmeer clear every single one of these drivers after their pit stop? That's going to be a tall order, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we've seen some excellent battling throughout this Grand Prix, and surely, all those guys were on the equal tyres, but surely when you've got the fresher softs compared to slightly worn out mediums, it's going to be a huge advantage to them. So possibly it will be difficult, but I'd say it's not going to be the end of the world if they can't get by. Initially, they're going to have the quicker tyres. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's all a guessing game at the moment, Andy. We don't actually know what is going to happen. Anything is possible at this stage in the race. But at the front of the order, I see that Thomas Ronhaar hasn't been able to close the gap much. He's still only 10.1 seconds behind. And at this stage in the race, I'd say he'd have liked to at least been beneath 10 seconds.
Yeah, I wonder if Jarno Uppmeer's going to think about a move before the pit stop. He's opened up the DRS, he's up at 70%. No, he's coming in, he's undercutting Nicholas Longe. So here he comes then, Uppmeer into the pit lane then. And he's going to make the move on lap 16 out of 25. 1 lap earlier than you suspected, but presumably that's for the undercut on Longe as he makes his way down the pit lane now. And as he does, we've got a change of net leadership because Tomek Parajas has got the move done on Thomas Ronhaar, and he now takes the place as we go on board with Jake Benham for a good onboard view of it. Brendan Lee, meanwhile, is up the inside of Caraton into turn 4. They bang wheels through there. Oh, that was also close to contact. It was contact. And thankfully, neither of them went for a spin, because that's exactly what it looked like they were going to do for a moment there, Dan.
And now they're fighting, which is not what they want to do. Brendan Lee getting turn number 10 slightly wrong here, as Luke Smith is closing to the rear of Shanaka Clay and towards turn number 13. Doesn't
Meanwhile,
quite get close enough to make a move, but meanwhile further back behind, Jarno Ottmere clears one of the runners. He's got past Duncan Hoffland. Jeffrey Ritchie next on his radar, and then he's got 4 seconds until he's into the lead train.
Yep, here we go then. Jarno Ottmere keen to make some moves here. But of course, having to overtake cars when you're trying to undercut Nicholas Longue might not be the best thing for him. And he's going to catch Jeffrey Ritchie in the middle sector where there is places to overtake, and he's letting him go. And that could be massive for Ottmere. They didn't have to follow him through turn 22 and 23, because if he did, it might be the difference between being in front or behind this man, Nicholas Longue, who's making the stop now. What are you seeing? Oh, this.
Shanaka Clay and Brendan Lee have hit.
They've hit again, have they? Oh, incredible. Well, it was, in fact, the last time it was Caraton, this time it's Shanaka Clay. And out of the final corner, Brendan Lee goes defensive. And we're going to now pick up on board with Luke Smith as Shanaka Clay and Brendan Lee bang moves again. Here comes Luke Smith down the inside of Brendan Lee. Can he get the move done? He's going to try his very best to get down the inside, and he will get through. Brendan Lee goes back to 7th place. Where is Nicholas Longue, though, going to be in relation to Jarno Ottmere? He's going to be behind Jarno Ottmere, but he's going to get a fantastic run coming off the corner, right behind Ottmere. Is he going to get the move done? No, he's not. Ottmere's pulled the undercut, and he's made it work to perfection. And I tell you what, if Ritchie never let Ottmere through, I think Longue might have been in front.
And I think Longue's opportunity to overtake is gone now. And I'd say at this point, he's just going to try and work with Jarno Ottmere to get closer to the train. They're only 3 seconds off the back of Brendan Lee, who lost the position to Luke Smith, and that gap is just going to keep on tumbling down. So we're on lap number 17 of 25. How is this going to fare for the likes of Ottmere and Longue? And I'd say at this point, Andy, it is going to be very nicely indeed, as if they keep fighting further up ahead, which seems to be the case, it is not going to be benefiting them whatsoever as they fly through turns number 22 and 23. Alvaro Caraton looks close to the rear of Jake Benham, and Luke Smith looks close to the rear of Shanaka Clay as they all file through turns number 26 and onto this back straight into 27. No moves being made at the moment, Andy, but Jarno Ottmere and Nicholas Longue be catching up quick.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't know what everybody thinks in the chat, but if I was Longue and Ottmere, I'd want to be at the head of the duel between them before you get to the traffic. As here comes Paragas, backing out behind Ronhar. Thought about going for the lead, said no, I don't want the lead at the minute. What about Longue? No, he's still staying behind Jarno Ottmere, but I personally would want to be at the front and passing the cars ahead of me before the man behind me and try and get more than a second in front. I don't know about everyone else, but I'm not an esports driver, so they know more than me, but I would want to be at the front getting into the group of cars. That would be my preference, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be on the same boat as you, Andy, but one thing I'm completely sure of is that Jarno Ottmere's just been able to take out a second off the deficit that he's in the first sector, by the way, of Brendan Lee, and I think that's because Lee has lost a lot of time to the train in front. Has he got some damage?
I presume
because
so.
He's losing a lot of time.
Well, I can't really make it out on the front wing from a distance, but he must be losing lots of time. He was certainly bumping and barging a lot with both of the Williams drivers as we now get up towards the front of the field again, and maybe that's why Brendan Lee's losing time. He's now 1.7 behind, and now Ottmere is right behind him, and pretty soon we'll be passing Brendan Lee with ease, and Brendan Lee's pulling out the way. He knows his race is run, his race over for Brendan Lee, and through goes both Ottmere and Longue, and will Longue this time round want to go for the move on Jarno Ottmere? I don't know where to look. Do I look here, or do I look at the lead of the race? I think we have to go to the lead of the Grand Prix as Paragas opens up the DRS, but again, ain't close enough for the move, and yes, Longue has decided he wants to be at the front of the train when they get to the traffic, and he now is ahead of Jarno Ottmere. Is that the right decision? I think so. Dan thinks so. But what do we know? We're commentators. We're not experts like the drivers.
Yeah, and at this point in time, Tomek Paragas not going for the move on Ronhar is hindering the entire train because everyone has to back off, and that has allowed for now Nicholas Longue to pull within 1 second of Luke Smith and the rest of the train. The DRS is now enabled for the Frenchman, and already Luke Smith playing the team game, letting Nicholas Longue by, but I'd imagine he's not going to be as nice with Jarno Ottmere.
Well, this is the thing. This is why Longue would want to be in front in the train. because if you're in front in the train, you get the chance to pull that second ahead, and already Longy might almost be a second ahead of Uppbeat. It's around about 8/10 of a second. He's ahead of Jarno Uppbeat already, and Luke Smith will not make this easy, as you say. So this is Longy's chance. This is his moment to sprint. Perhaps Jarno Uppbeat should have done more to keep Longy behind. Is that a rare error from Jarno Uppbeat? Is it a rare error, or are we talking mince? Who knows?
I don't know either, to be honest, Andy. I'm completely lost for words as Jake Benham at the front of the order is going around the outside of Tomek Paragic. He knows the threat that is lurking in behind. He's trying to get as far away from them as possible. Hasn't worked out, and now they're all going to close up down this main straight in towards turn number 1 to begin lap number 20 of 25. Benham diving to the inside of Tomek Paragic. The two young guns of this grid going wheel to wheel. Benham's off the circuit. He taps the wall, and now this is going to allow for Nicolas Longy to try and get involved as Benham's down into 5th position. Here comes the Frenchman. Oh, the Alfa Romeo getting so close to the rear of the McLaren through the first sector, but he's not quite close enough as in towards sector 2 they go in this short DRS straight. Longy has got to go for the opportunity. DRS on for the Frenchman. Can he look to the outside into turn number 13? He goes down the inside. Yes, he does, sending it on Jake Benham, and he makes the move stick, Andy.
And Uppbeat's in big trouble now, because there's now 2 cars between he and Nicolas Longy. Is Uppbeat seeing his chances of victory slip away here? He should have stayed in front of Longy before they got to the traffic. There's now 2 cars between Uppbeat and Longy, and Luke Smith is doing wonders for the Alfa Romeo team here. He's still keeping the 2-time reigning F1 Esports champion behind. What a performance from Smith. He's really playing the team game here as Longy sets about yet another move, this time on Shinaka Clay. Wow, this is incredible. The race is coming to life, but Longy needs to make this move now into the final corner. Diving down the inside. What a move that is from Longy. Can he make it stick? Clay keeps his foot in, and they will run side by side. Behind that, we're 3 abreast as Uppbeat makes 2 moves into 1 go. As we keep an eye on Longy, he knows he needs to make this move on Shinaka Clay into turn 1 right now, and he does so. Meanwhile, Uppbeat is ahead, I think, of Luke Smith. Finally ahead of Luke Smith, but there's still 1 car between he and Longy, because Longy's got ahead of Shinaka Clay. Wow, what a race.
Oh, this is hellacious battling in Jeddah. This is an instant WOR classic. And you've got to be stupid if you're thinking different. Longy now closing to the podium positions because he's got Alvaro Carreton in his crosshairs. Can he go up the inside in towards turn number 13 like he did on Benham? Not quite. He knows he's got the advantage. He doesn't want to burn up these softs for last gasp overtakes because he's still got time to make these moves, and he can do it in a safer position. He's still 1/10 to the rear of Alvaro Carreton, but at this moment in time he's still residing in 4th position as they go through the 2nd sector. Longy, Andy, he's pulling a masterstroke.
Yeah, he sure is, but Jarno Uppbeat's still not done yet. He's only 1 car behind at the minute, and it's Shinaka Clay. But let's see how it works out at the minute. Can Longy get Carreton before Uppbeat gets Clay? At the minute, that is the situation as we watch them all flash through the final sector of the lap again, and it's all happening at the front. Paragic down the inside of Ronhard to take the lead. Ronhard round the outside holds on as we keep an eye on Nicolas Longy, just waiting in the background as they make their way down the straight once again. Ronhard pulls to the left-hand side. We're on board with Nicolas Longy, who's gaining and gaining and gaining down the straight, and Ronhard's getting easy up. Through goes Paragic, through goes Carreton, and Ronhard down to 3rd. But they both go wide, and that gives the opportunity for Longy to go round the outside and take P3, and passes Carreton and stays ahead of Clay. And there's now 2 cars again between Longy and Jarno Uppbeat. This is incredible.
It's the perfect race for Nicolas Longy. This parted like the Red Sea in front of him as Ronhard has got a penalty for overtaking off the circuit, and this is not going to help him here as he's got Nicolas Longy right in behind him. Jarno Uppbeat going to go around the outside in towards turn number 13 of Alvaro Carreton. Can he make this move stick? He keeps his foot in, and there it is. He goes around the outside of the Spaniard who's losing positions in this Grand Prix, as he might actually lose out to Luke Smith at this point. But on lap number 22 of 25, Longy has now got the 2 leaders in his sights.
Yep, it's looking good for Nicolas Longy at the minute, but Jarno Uppbeat still keeping with in touch. Only one car between them again, but Longay's keen on making it 2 or 3 in a few moments' time. Ron Hart's out of shape. He's rattled. He's just got a penalty, and Longay's going to go steaming past him before they even get to turn 27. Side by side they go. The Aston Martin and the Alfa Romeo, and the Alfa Romeo still can't quite get through. Paradis remains in front. Longay has to stand back, but he'll switch back on the exit. Beautiful move from Longay. Timed it to perfection, and he's now up into P2. Jarno Opmeer still at the minute stuck in P5 as Shinaka Clay's coming back for more. Down the straight, here comes Nicholas Longay trying to take the lead from Paradis. Round the outside he goes. Can't quite make it stick. Shinaka Clay up the inside. Unbelievable action. Longay somehow stays second. Shinaka Clay's up to third. Ron Hart drops back to fourth, and Opmeer is still stuck in P5, and with 3 cars between he and Nicholas Longay now.
Oh, this is beautiful racing. I'm loving every moment of this. And if you want to see more of this, make sure you subscribe to the WOR YouTube channel and like this video, because this is an instant classic. As here comes Nicholas Longay. It's what it's all been leading up to on the rear of Tomek Paradis, who's done a brilliant job of keeping the lead. Meanwhile, Jarno Opmeer goes up the inside of Thomas Ron Hart, his fellow countryman, to take P4. He's closing up to P3 at this point. But Andy, surely Nicholas Longay, he's going to seize the opportunity to overtake as soon as possible. Look at him, how close he is. He's practically in the gearbox of the Mercedes car. He's pushing him down this straight. He's not going for the overtake this time by, because he wants to use the DRS as in towards 22 and 23, and off the exit. DRS now enabled for Nicholas Longay, but he's not using it.
He's not using it. He's staying put at the minute. Is he going to still dive down the inside regardless? Longay holding back. It's a tactical game. And look at that down the inside. Shinaka Clay into the lead of the race from absolutely nowhere. We're going 3 wide down the straight. Jarno Opmeer ain't giving this up. There's barely any room. We're going 4 wide down the start-finish straight to turn 1. Paradis still leads. And look at Opmeer round the outside of Longay. Can't quite make it work. Paradis holds on. Runs a little bit wide. Longay, look at the switch back from Opmeer. Incredible. Side by side he goes with his teammate, and there's contact now between Longay and massive shunt. Jake Benham's out of the race. Jarno Opmeer places his car in the perfect position to steal the lead of the race on the penultimate lap of this Grand Prix. Have you ever seen a more dramatic WR race than this? Absolutely astonishing. Opmeer leads, Clay second, and Ron Hart now third, and it's a disaster for Longay, who looked for all the while like he was going to lead and win this race.
I'm in absolute shock, Andy. I truly am. What I'm losing my words here at this point on lap number 24 of 25. Nicholas Longay, that really was his hamasha, not going for that move. It allowed Clay up the inside. They were 4 wide in towards turn number 1 at one point, and that has really undone his race. And I think the innocent bystanders here have got to be Paradis and Benham.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Paradis and all that as well, dropping down the order. His championship now in absolute tatters as a result. Longay's lost out as well, but not that big. Caraton's not having a great afternoon either. This is going to bring the likes of Shinaka Clay back into the title fight. It's an absolute disaster for Tomek Paradis. It was looking like it would have been a solid showing. Not anymore. Jarno Opmeer, after all of this, is starting the final lap here in Jeddah in the lead of this Grand Prix. It never looked likely when Longay took the position from him before they got to the traffic, but poor positioning from Nicholas Longay, poor tactics in the final corner, and a little bit of bad luck has been his undoing tonight. Jarno Opmeer into turn 2, couldn't have placed the car in a better position while everyone else was having an accident. He was taking the inside line and taking the lead here in Jeddah tonight, and it looks like in WOR, Jarno Opmeer is going to come from outside the top 10, P12 on the grid to be exact, and come home with the victory here tonight. What an astonishing race it's been in Jeddah. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. We've got two-time F1 esports champions on the grid tonight. What more do you want, folks? It's been a thrilling Grand Prix, and it has been an absolute classic in WR tonight, no doubt about it. So many different drivers throughout this race from start to finish, chopping and changing positions for the lead of this Grand Prix, but in the end only one man can win, and as usual it's the 2-time reigning F1 esports world champion who picks his moments, waits for the correct moment to pounce, and does so on the penultimate lap to take the lead of this Grand Prix. And with just 2 corners to go, Shinaka Clay is gaining and is taking the place back from Jarno Opmeer. Ottmere, just as it was building up to a huge moment. Shanaka Clay steals the lead at the end. Can Ottmere respond? Has he got anything left? DRS to the lane. Shanaka Clay's going to steal it, but he does have a time penalty, and that means Ottmere will take it back. Unbelievable. Longue second. Luke Smith is on the podium in third. Clay is fourth, and Caraton is fifth. Wow, what a race, Dan. Astonishing.
I'll tell you what, though, if Shanaka Clay can get that penalty removed, he'd have just stolen it under Jarno Ottmere's nose. I think if we need to get Clay... No, he's fourth. He's fourth on the road, so it doesn't count. So we can't get him in for an interview. But I don't know what I have just seen here. At the moment, without the penalty being removed, Jarno Ottmere pulls a masterstroke of a victory, and he wins in style. And I'm seeing someone in the chat saying that you create your own luck, and I've never seen anything more true at the moment. He knew exactly where to position his car to benefit the most, and he sowed those seeds as soon as he could, and he reaped the rewards at the end. So regardless of the outcome of the possible penalty appeal, Jarno Ottmere, you have to take a bow.
Oh, I'm sweating. I am sweating in the commentary box. It is absolutely unbelievable. What a race in WOR tonight. What a race. And we still don't know who's won. We think it's Jarno Ottmere. What about Shanaka Clay's penalties? We need to see if there were corner cut penalties, because usually they won't get removed. What was it? What kind of penalty was it for Shanaka Clay? We need to find out. Driver of the day has been given to Jarno Ottmere by the game. What a race. We think Ottmere's won. What a fantastic result. What a race. On the road, it was Clay, but in the stewards room, it's Jarno Ottmere for the moment, the victor tonight here in Jeddah, and in a crazy, topsy-turvy, astounding race. He comes out on top, and somehow Nicholas Longue gets onto the podium to join up with Luke Smith in second and third. Absolutely incredible, no doubt about it. The alternate strategy was the way to go, and those two drivers made it work, and it was all about where Ottmere positioned his car on the penultimate lap of the race. Wow, what a race. Take us through it, Dan.
Yeah, so sensational stuff throughout the entirety, but the full classifications, pre any post-race steward inquiries, it's Jarno Ottmere winning the Grand Prix. Nicholas Longue in second, and a great P3 for Luke Smith, who played an astonishing team game today. Shanaka Clay in fourth after his penalty. Alvaro Caraton struggled in fifth from pole. Thomas Ronhart ends his race in sixth. Brendan Lee in seventh. Timon Shooter, after taking early damage, finishes in eighth. And Duncan Hoffland, with an unfortunate start to his race, ends up in ninth. Jeffrey Ritchie is the last of your point scorers. Then the bottom 10 goes as such. Tomek Paranchis in 11th, Louis Welch in 12th, Sam Corby 13th, Patrick Sipos 14th, Jack West in 15th, and then your DNFs in this Grand Prix were Jake Benham, Matthijs van Erven, Andrew Tarabukin, Rune Pedreño, and Liam Parnell, who didn't even get around the first corner.
Wow. Wow, what an incredible race that was tonight in Jeddah. Probably one of the best races I've commentated on this season, Dan. There was so much going on. Didn't know who was going to win it right till the line. And even now, we want to find out what Shanaka Clay's penalty situation is. Absolutely magnificent. That is what league racing is all about.
And that is what league racing is for, and that's what we're here for. You know, I'm so happy that we have the duty and the privilege of casting over such great racing like that. This really is the pinnacle of racing. You don't find it anywhere else. In any other leagues except for PSGL, you know, the top two grids in the world and possibly of all time, and that is exemplary performance from all the drivers today.
Incredible, incredible. And you know what? See, when I run out of water, it's been a classic. That's when you know it's been a classic. I've ran out of water in the commentary box. So much going on. At the start of the Grand Prix, Dan, we had action everywhere. In the middle part of the Grand Prix, we had action. At the end, it was just wild. It was absolutely nuts. Incredible stuff. And I've got to say, folks, please leave a like on the video, leave a comment, subscribe, and check this action out every single week on a Sunday night at 7 p.m. because you can't miss it. It is that exciting. It's that enjoyable. We've got the likes of Jarno Ottmere, Brendan Lee, 4 World Championships and F1 esports between them on this grid, along with some other top esports talent. It's incredible, and as well as so many rising stars too. It really is incredible. before we go to interviews, if we get anyone for interviews, I just want to have a quick look at some of our sponsors here tonight. GridRival, racing has never been this fun. Join World Online Racing League today, which is a fantasy league app. It's a dedicated app for racing series, like a fantasy for Formula One or for just Grand Prix racing series. We've got one for Formula One on there, World Online Racing. Be sure to join it out. With £25 prize pot, and for every 50 members that join, we add another 25 quid to the prize pot. Fantasy League, pick your drivers: Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, whoever you want to add to your team. Be sure to do so. As well as that, check out SimStaff 2, bespoke premier esports staffing solutions. Use code WOR at checkout for 10% off. Check that website out, simstaff.net. Dan, wow, what a race. Driver of the day, who are you going for?
I mean, the obvious choice has got to be Jarno Uppbeat. You know, he was incredible throughout the entire race. But I'd like to give some props as well to Luke Smith, because although it didn't work out in the end, he started the race in 10th, ended it in 3rd, of course, before any post-race stewards. There we go, got my wording right. And he played an excellent team game where he was able to help out Nicolas Longuet. Of course, that was all undone by the penultimate lap, but it was still very impressive. And I can see, Andy, that man has actually just joined the interview.
Yeah, he has. So let's jump into the driver interviews right now and drag him in. Luke Smith, welcome to the commentary box. We were just having a little chat about you and your performance today. Well done on getting yourself onto the podium. It was a pretty hectic race. Probably the best race of the season so far from our point of view in the commentary box. What was it like sitting in the cockpit? It was incredible.
Well, that race was absolute carnage, especially towards the end. A lot of the time, Jeddah is just a waiting game of it's kind of more of a game of chess rather than anything. Even though it obviously looks great with all the overtakes and stuff, but you've got to be able to know when the right time to pass is, the correct strategy, which obviously Jarno and Nico were on, because, well, they won. But I kind of, from my perspective, I just wanted to do something different, so I'd have some sort of advantage later in the race. So that's why I went a little bit longer on the soft, and it happened to work. So yeah, and then obviously you have to capitalize on some crashes and stuff. Obviously that's also part of racing. You've got to keep your nose clean. So yeah.
Yeah, we actually spoke about your strategy, Luke, in commentary. We noticed that you went longer. Some of the guys in front of you actually had to negotiate some of the medium runners that were still out there. The traffic. You were the only driver that actually came out the pits and didn't have to overtake any of them. I think you just squeezed ahead of Duncan Hoffland as you came out the pits, and you know you were there right with the group of drivers in front of you. You maybe never got any track position at that stage, but you had the fresh tyres and the ability to attack later on, and it worked perfectly for you, didn't it?
Yeah. It was sort of like kind of PSG or Monaco flashbacks, where I was able to sort of just get into some clean air and just have some sort of advantage, because I knew with those guys fighting behind and getting stuck in traffic, I knew that they would lose a hell of a lot of time, because the older mediums would have been a lot slower. Yeah. Especially for I think the guys who started from like P14 downwards or something. So I knew that going longer may not get me track position, like you said, but it does give me like a small advantage, which I'll have for the rest of the race. So yeah, it's just about being smart.
Yeah, and you used that advantage very well. I just want to ask you about the fight with Longuet and Uppbeat. You let Longuet go, and that was a big help to him initially. It looked like it was going to be massive for the result of the Grand Prix. You held Uppbeat for, I think it was more than a lap. I think it was nearly 2 laps, maybe even more than that you held him for. Did your utmost very best to help Nicolas Longuet out and the Alfa Romeo team out, but in the end it was all in vain because chaos ensued at turn 2.
Yeah, I was off. Obviously, it was kind of like if you're thinking back to, like, I don't know, Abu Dhabi 2021, like the less controversial part of that race, like you've got to kind of like being a bit of a Checo Perez, like defending to help your teammate out, so he'd have an advantage later in the race. I wanted to sort of do that a little bit, and just make sure that not only Jarno would stay behind me, but I'd also be able to sort of reduce his kind of his resources, so his tire, like increase his tire wear, make him use some ERS, etc. So he'd be weaker when coming through the rest of the pack. So that was kind of the aim. Obviously, didn't work out in the end with the carnage, but Nico got a bit unlucky with that. But yeah, I'll always try to do my best for the team, as hopefully you'll see someday soon.
Yeah, well, it was a really strong performance from you, Luke. Congratulations on that P3, well deserved. Dan, have you got any questions for our podium finisher?
I think you've covered all bases for me in terms of the questions, but I do have to say, really well done for you, and I really do. I do like that you've incorporated the team game into this one. That is something that is very admirable. So keep up this hard work, and I'm really excited to see where we can go in the future.
Cheers, mate. Thank you for that, and yeah, GG to everyone else if anyone's listening.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Luke, and hopefully we will see you again in the commentary box, joining us for an interview in the future. Well done on that P3. Go and enjoy it.
Yeah, let's hope they're more frequent in the future as well.
Good job, mate. Good to hear from Luke Smith then, who gets himself onto the podium with a strong P3. Dan, he seems very happy, and as you said, it was nice to see him playing the team game, and despite playing the team game, still getting rewarded with a very strong result.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was really well worked from him today, so I'm very pleased with how he's conducted himself, and certainly I think he is a driver that is going to go very, very far in F1 esports future. But unfortunately, I'm just looking over at the Discord now. I don't believe that we're seeing anyone joining the interview room. I tried to convince Jarno in his stream chat. He didn't read it, unfortunately, and I'd imagine Longay's not in the best of moods. So I think that's it for us in terms of interviews.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think you'll be in a great mood at all either. So to wrap up, you're going for Opmir driver of the day?
I have got to.
Yeah, you're going for Opmir. I'll go for Luke Smith then. So we'll have a little bit of difference in the commentary box. We know we like to change it up sometimes, so we've gone for a little bit of difference there. But look, folks, I hope you've really enjoyed this race tonight. I certainly have. Dan has. It has been a sensational race, an absolute cracker here in Jeddah tonight. Be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the WOR channel to see more races like this every single Sunday night in Tier 1 on PC. But that's been that all from us tonight. I've been Ginger Andy. He's been Dan Field. We'll see you again next week for the next race of this championship. Good night.
On his debut, Jarno Uppbeat wins at Spa.
It's Martinez in Montreal. David beats Goliath.
It's a true underdog story. John Evans wins at Mexico.
And it's Super Sam Corby who takes the PlayStation Championship.
FRA Ronhard takes his first WOR championship. He is your Xbox champion.
And Jake Benham is a two-time WOR champion.
Uppbeat around the outside operated line. Shadow is contact to get Ronha. Is around.
Melanie, surely is going to win here at Abu Dhabi. He does.
16 races across 5 continents. From Brazil to Belgium and Bahrain to Britain. Soon this story starts. Across 3 platforms, hundreds will begin the quest. The quest in search of glory and the right to be called a WOR champion. Lights out, and we're racing in Season 12.